Chapter 1570. As soon as the box was opened, a fluffy white little fellow crawled out from within. At the instant that the white little fellow crawled out, the spirit energy in the surroundings suddenly surged uncontrollably towards her. It was an extremely strange scene. At this moment, the gazes of countless people shot towards the white little fellow, and their eyes were filled with curiosity. What's that? Meanwhile, Xiaota suddenly appeared in front of the white little fellow, and he seemed extremely happy. White! The white little fellow rubbed her drowsy eyes. She grinned when she saw Xiaota, and then she rubbed Xiaota lightly before she gazed at Yi Xian. Meanwhile, Yi Xian didn't say a word, and immediately took out a candied ha and passed it to the white little fellow. The white little fellow's eyes instantly lit up when she saw the candied ha, and she took it and started licking it. It was still that familiar white little fellow. The divine prophet stared fixedly at the white little fellow, the spirit patriarch. As he spoke, his expression gradually became solemn. Meanwhile, Yi Xian suddenly said, "White, help me fight, all right?" The white little fellow gazed at Yi Xian, and Yi Xian immediately withdrew another candied ha. The white little fellow's eyes narrowed as she took the candied ha, and then she nodded swiftly. Yi Xian hurriedly turned around and pointed at the group of divine prophet. "Quickly stop them." The white little fellow glanced at the divine prophet, blinked, and then waved her little claw. Bang! In an instant, the lightning, fire, and wind in the starry sky vanished without a trace. All of them had vanished. Both sides were stunned when they witnessed this scene. The divine prophets started to execute their techniques again, and it didn't take long for countless strands of formidable elemental energy to converge in the starry sky. Meanwhile, the white little fellow waved her claw again. Bang! The elemental energy vanished without a trace. The divine prophets were dumbfounded. The white little fellow licked the candied ha, and then she grinned as she gazed at the divine prophets. It seemed like she was telling them to continue. The divine prophets were about to attack, but they were stopped by the divine prophet. The divine word master looked at the little white fellow below. Spirit ancestor. As the spirit ancestor, why are you helping the person with the adversity body? The little white fellow licked her sugar-coated haws and pointed at Yi Xian with her little claw before pointing at herself. Obviously, she meant that Yi Xian was in cahoots with her. The divine oracle looked at the little white guy. He is a sinner of misfortune. The little white fellow blinked and continued to lick the Tonghulu. She didn't understand what the divine word master was saying at all. What sinner of misfortune? Is it better than candied haws? The divine word master's face sank. Fuck, he discovered that he couldn't communicate with the spirit ancestor. And at this time, the Undying Emperor clan experts that were blocked by Teacher Yen had already charged towards the group of Great Qing Dynasty soldiers. With the addition of these experts, how could the Great Qing Dynasty resist? Mu Tian immediately turned to look at the divine word master in the distance. The divine word master suddenly took a step forward and gently pressed down with his right hand. This pressure caused countless bolts of lightning to gather in the starry sky. In the next instant, these bolts of lightning descended in a straight line. In an instant, a formless pressure came crashing down, as if it wanted to shatter the starry sky. Below, Yi Xian opened his palm, and a sword appeared in his hand. He was prepared to attack at any time. At this moment, the little white fellow sniffed. In an instant, the divine lightning in the starry sky became illusory and gradually disappeared. Seeing this scene, Yi Xian was stunned. Gone just like that? In the starry sky, the divine oracle's expression also froze. He didn't expect that his divine lightning would disappear just like that. Below, the little white fellow licked her sugar-coated haws with a harmless look. At this time, the group of experts from the Great Qing Dynasty had already been defeated. This was because the Undying Emperor clan's side had already crushed the Great Qing Dynasty and God sect in terms of numbers. Mu Tian looked at the divine oracle. He stared at the divine oracle with a gaze as sharp as a knife. The Cosmos God Court can no longer hold back. He knew that the Cosmos God Court was definitely holding back. The divine oracle suddenly turned to look at Ma Yi. Ma Yi understood, and immediately floated towards the little white fellow below. They had to get rid of this little white fellow. Otherwise, the divine oracles would be crippled. Seeing Ma Yi floating towards him, Yi Xian suddenly pulled out his sword. Wang! A sword hummed soared into the sky. In the sky, Ma Yi suddenly slapped down with her palm. Boom! A wave of sword light shattered. Yi Xian was directly sent back to his original position. The moment he landed, his fleshly body split apart. At this moment, the little white fellow waved its little claw, and a purple aura enveloped Yi Xian. In an instant, Yi Xian's cracked fleshly body returned to normal. At this time, Ma Yi had already appeared in front of Yi Xian and the little white fellow. Just as she was about to attack, a figure suddenly appeared in front of her. Boom! The space in front of Yi Xian directly exploded. The person who attacked was the Undying Emperor clan's patriarch, Dongli Jing. Dongli Jing looked at Ma Yi and waved her sleeves. Your opponent is me. As she finished speaking, she disappeared from her original position. In the distance, Ma Yi suddenly punched out. With this punch, everyone in the starry sky seemed to stop. Domain. This was a martial domain, and no ordinary martial domain. In the martial domain, Dongli Jing's pupils constricted. She clenched her right hand, and the undying bloodline in her body suddenly boiled. In an instant, the power of her bloodline enveloped her body. After the power of her bloodline enveloped her body, Dongli Jing directly punched out. Head-on. Rumble. As a shocking explosion resounded, the two women simultaneously retreated. At this moment, a figure suddenly appeared in front of Dongli Jing. The Dark Hall's Hall Master. Obviously, he wanted to kill Dongli Jing. If he could assassinate the Undying Emperor clan's clan master, the Undying Emperor clan's morale would definitely plummet. Unfortunately, as soon as he appeared in front of Dongli Jing, a black figure silently appeared behind him. The person who attacked was the Undying Emperor clan's Shadow Guard commander. He had actually been watching the Dark Hall's Hall Master all this time. After the Shadow Guard's commander appeared, the Dark Hall's Hall Master suddenly disappeared. The Shadow Guard's commander also disappeared. It was as if the two of them had never appeared. Dongli Jing looked at Lini in the distance. She slowly clenched her right hand, and the undying bloodline within her surged madly. Since she possessed the undying bloodline, so long as she wasn't instantly killed, she wasn't afraid of anyone in a battle of attrition. Suddenly, the space in the distance split open, and then two rays of light flew out. The two who came out were Mu Nianyan and Tu. In their hands were two bloody skulls. They were the heads of the Divine Sect's Sect Master and Supreme Elder. The two women had killed two people. The expressions of the experts from the Divine Sect changed drastically when they saw this. Mu Nianyan turned to look at the linen robe not far away. She had suddenly vanished, and at this moment, the Divine Word Master suddenly chanted an incantation. In the next instant, countless blood-red talismans appeared around Mu Nianyan. Mu Nianyan slashed down with her sword. Boom! The talisman exploded into pieces. But right at this moment, bolts of lightning struck down towards the top of her head. Mu Nianyan's expression was calm. She stomped her right foot lightly, and then she transformed into a ray of light that shot into the sky. The Divine Word Master was about to attack. Meanwhile, Yi Xian hurriedly said, "Little fellow, help him out." The white little fellow blinked, looked at the Divine Word Master, and raised her little claw. The Divine Word Master had just started chanting when the spirit energy around him was instantly sucked dry. The Divine Word Master was stunned. What did a Divine Word Master need the most? Spirit energy and elemental energy. But at this moment, the spirit energy around him had been sucked dry. It wasn't just the spirit energy that had been sucked dry. Even the elemental energy around him was gone. What's this? The Divine Word Master gazed at the white little fellow below him. The white little fellow grinned, and she seemed completely harmless. She's still smiling? The Divine Word Master was slightly stunned. Is she mocking me? Meanwhile, Mu Nianyan suddenly appeared in front of him. His expression changed drastically, and he immediately flashed backwards. This single flash allowed him to move over 3 kilometers away. Hiss! Mu Nianyan's sword slashed through the air. Yi Xian suddenly said, "Big Sister Nian, kill those divine words." Mu Nianyan immediately turned around and charged at those divine words when he heard Yi Xian. The expressions of those divine words changed drastically, and they were about to start chanting when the white little fellow suddenly raised her claw and waved it lightly. In an instant, the spirit energy and elemental energy in an area of over 3 kilometers were completely sucked dry. All the Divine Word's masters were rendered useless. The Divine Word's masters were stunned. At this time, Moon Yin had already arrived. In the blink of an eye, 5 holy diviners were killed. After the Divine Word's masters' techniques were rendered useless, their combat strength was simply too weak. The Divine Word master's expression changed drastically when he witnessed this scene, and he suddenly roared furiously, "Where's the Tendo? The Tendo!" Only the Tendo could gather spirit energy once more. If the Tendo could gather spirit energy once more, then they could still fight. So, he immediately summoned the Tendo. The Cosmos Divine Court controlled the order of the entire universe, and the Tendo everywhere had to give them face. Bang! A formidable aura suddenly appeared in the starry sky. As soon as this formidable aura appeared, the entire starry sky started to tremble, and the spirit energy in the surroundings fluctuated slightly. Then a figure gradually condensed silently. The Tendo. It was the Tendo of this starry sky. It wasn't particularly strong, but it wasn't weak either. The white little fellow glanced at the Tendo and continued to lick the candied haws, and there was a trace of greed in her eyes. The Tendo's spirit energy is even more abundant. The Divine Word Master took out the Divine Order and gazed at the Tendo. "I order you to immediately mobilize all the spirit energy here and replenish it for us." The Tendo paid no attention to the Divine Word Master, and she gazed at White instead. She fell silent for a moment before she looked at the Divine Word Master and roared furiously, "Replenish your mother's head." With that, she disappeared. He had confirmed with his eyes that he could not afford to offend this person. This was the spirit ancestor. Replenish spirit chi. Once this little guy breathed in, not to mention spiritual chi, even she, a Tendo, could absorb it all. Snatching spirit chi from the spirit ancestor? Wasn't that like entering the latrine with a lantern? At this moment, the escaping Tendo was extremely frustrated. Was there something wrong with the Cosmos God Court? He told her to deal with the spirit ancestor. That was the spirit ancestor. It was as if he was asking his son to beat his father. "Aren't you pushing me into a fire pit?" Chapter 1571. The Tendo's sudden departure stunned the Divine Word Master. He wasn't angry, and he became even more solemn instead. There was only one explanation for the Tendo's departure. It was fear of the spirit ancestor. However, right at this moment, the little white fellow suddenly waved her claw towards the depths of the starry sky. With this wave of her claw, the Tendo in the starry sky stopped moving. In the next moment, a figure appeared above them. It was the Tendo who'd left earlier. The little white fellow had called him back again. The little white fellow gazed at the Tendo, grinned, and then pointed her claw at the Divine Word Master before suddenly clenching it. Her intentions were obvious. Hit him. The Tendo remained silent. She didn't dare to go against the spirit ancestor, but she didn't want to go against the universe court as well. The little white fellow frowned slightly when she saw the Tendo remain silent, and then she pointed her claw at the Divine Word Master. Her intentions were extremely obvious. Kill him. The Tendo hesitated for a moment and said, "Can I not fight?" The little white fellow blinked. "He doesn't want to give me face." The little white fellow sniffed lightly, and with this sniff, the heavenly Tao was instantly scared out of its wits. This was because the origin of this starfield was directly disappearing at an extremely terrifying speed. The Tendo hurriedly said, "Hit him. I'll hit him." As soon as she finished speaking, she turned around to look at the Divine Word Master and said furiously, "Is there something wrong with all of you? Why did you offend the spirit ancestor for no reason?" As soon as she finished speaking, she transformed into a bolt of divine lightning that shot explosively towards the Divine Word Master. The Divine Word Master's face instantly darkened when he witnessed this scene. Damn it! My universe court actually doesn't have as much influence as the spirit ancestor? The Divine Word Master didn't think too much about it, and immediately started chanting. However, he just started chanting when he noticed that all the spirit energy and elemental energy in this area had been absorbed by the little white fellow. The Divine Word Master's expression instantly changed when he noticed this, and he didn't hesitate to transform into a ray of white light that vanished on the spot. The Tendo's attack missed, so she charged towards the Divine Word Master again. Actually, the Tendo couldn't defeat the Divine Word Master, but now she had the little white fellow's help. With the little white fellow's help, the Divine Oracle Master would be half crippled. On the other side, Moon Yinyan had already killed off the Holy Diviners, leaving only a dozen or so behind. Of course, the main reason was because of the little white fellow. This little fellow was the natural nemesis of these teachers. This was because Master Yin was too reliant on the spiritual qi and elemental energy of this world. As for the spiritual qi and elemental energy, they were too dependent on the little white fellow. No, the spiritual qi and elemental energy were afraid of the little white fellow. The little white fellow hitting teacher, Yin was like a father hitting his son. You wouldn't even have the slightest bit of temper. On the other side, the Undying Emperor clan had completely suppressed the Divine Sect and the Great Qing dynasty. Without the advantage in numbers, the Great Han dynasty and the Divine Sect were truly unable to defeat the Undying Imperial clan. Of course, the main reason was that the little white fellow had crippled those Master Yans. Otherwise, those Master Yans would really be able to stop an entire army. Right at this moment, Marshal Mutian suddenly gazed at the Divine Oracle Master, who was still locked in battle with the Tendo, and roared furiously. Is the Cosmos Divine Court still planning to hold back until now? He knew that the Cosmos Divine Court hadn't revealed its true strength at all. The Divine Oracle Master glanced at the surroundings, and it didn't take long for his face to sink. The Great Han dynasty and the Divine Sect were utterly unable to defeat the Undying Imperial clan. This was normal. After all, they were fighting on the Undying Imperial clan's territory. Moreover, there was the seemingly harmless Spirit Ancestor. The Spirit Ancestor was more terrifying than any expert of the Undying Imperial clan. On the other hand, Ma Yi and Mu Xiaodao were busy, and they were utterly unable to stop the Spirit Ancestor. The Divine Oracle Master suddenly pushed back the Tendo, and then he gazed at the little white fellow and said fiercely, "Kill the Spirit Ancestor. Kill the Spirit Ancestor." He knew that he had to deal with the Spirit Ancestor first if he wanted to win this battle. As soon as the Divine Oracle Master's voice resounded, the space around Yi Xian and the others suddenly became illusory. In the next moment, a few hundred black-robed figures with blood-red sickles in their hands suddenly charged out. All of them were peak heavenway stage experts. As soon as they appeared, they charged at the little white fellow. At the same time, a group of mysterious experts with short axes suddenly appeared in the starry sky. There were over 1,000 of them, and all of them were peak heavenway stage experts. After these more than 1,000 people appeared, they immediately charged towards the Undying Emperor clan's Dao soldiers in the distance. They swept through everything in their path, and no one was able to stop them. In a single charge, the Undying Imperial clan had lost a few thousand people, and most of them were Dao soldiers of the Undying Imperial clan. Even Dao soldiers couldn't stop these axe-wielding experts. On the other side, as the group of sickle-wielding experts charged at the little white fellow, Yi Xian suddenly said, "Stop them." As he spoke, he charged forward. And behind him were the geniuses and geniuses of the Undying Imperial clan. Although there were only over 100 of them, their battle strength was truly terrifying. What was worth mentioning was that all of them had the Undying bloodline. Thus, although they were outnumbered, they weren't afraid at all, because they were very difficult to kill. Down below, Dong Lijian's expression became slightly unsightly, and his gaze was fixed on the 1,000+ experts with axes in their hands. The battle strength of these 1,000 people was too terrifying. More than 1,000 people charged forward in a tight group. They were like a sharp blade, cutting through everything in their path. The formation of the Dao soldiers was directly disrupted, and they suffered heavy losses. Dong Lijian suddenly said, "Divine Imperial Guards." As he spoke, the space behind him suddenly split open. The next moment, hundreds of people charged out. These hundreds of people were all wearing purple battle armor and wielding purple spears. Divine Imperial Guards. This was the strongest army of the Undying Imperial clan. They were all peak Heavenway stage experts. And the leader of the Divine Imperial Guards had even reached the mortal stage. Dongli Corridor. Their strength was ranked second in the entire Undying Imperial clan. The Divine Imperial Guards were the trump card of the Undying Imperial clan. They hadn't used them before, because they wanted to defend against the Cosmos Court. And now, they had no choice but to use them, because if they didn't use them, the Undying Imperial clan would suffer heavy losses. Dongli Corridor raised his head to look at the experts of the Cosmos Court. In the next moment he suddenly vanished on the spot. In the starry sky, a middle-aged man who was leading the charging group of battle axe experts suddenly chopped down with his axe. This strike collided with a spear. Boom! The middle-aged man's expression changed drastically, and then he was blasted away. Dongli Corridor appeared in front of the group of battle axe experts. With a twist of his wrist, he swept his spear forward. Boom! This sweep directly swept the group of tomahawk powerhouses to the ground, causing them to retreat repeatedly, and with this retreat, their formation was directly disrupted. Dongli Corridor held the spear in his right hand and tossed it forward. One of the battle axe experts didn't even have time to react before the spear pierced through his body. Dongli Corridor looked at the vigilant battle axe experts. Kill! As the sound of his voice faded, the Imperial God Guards charged into the sky. This group of people directly charged towards the group of battle axe experts. Dongli Corridor was about to act, but at this moment, his eyes narrowed and he suddenly raised his head. In the next moment, an afterimage suddenly descended from the sky and stepped towards him. Dongli Corridor stabbed upwards with his spear. Boom! The entire starry sky trembled and then cracked. Dongli Corridor suddenly fell from the sky, and at this moment, where Dongli Corridor was originally standing, a middle-aged man stood. The middle-aged man had his hands behind his back, and there was a tiny crack between his brows. Zhu Meng, Cosmos Court Battle Hall Master. At this moment, Dongli Corridor suddenly disappeared. Zhu Meng directly punched out. Boom! Under this punch, the starry sky in front of him turned into nothingness. However, he was forced to retreat hundreds of meters away. And the place he was standing at was Dongli Corridor again. Dongli Corridor held his spear and pointed downwards. His eyes were filled with battle intent. Zhu Meng glanced at Dongli Corridor. Block them! As the sound of his voice faded, the surrounding space suddenly split apart. In the next moment, over 100 experts wielding long blades charged out. Battle Hall experts. There weren't many of them. Only 120 of them. These 100 people held shields in their left hand and blades in their right. Their target was the group of Imperial Divine Guards. Zhu Meng glanced at Dongli Corridor. In the next moment, both of them disappeared. Boom! In the starry sky, a space suddenly exploded below. Dongli Zhan glanced at the Imperial Divine Guards. The Imperial Divine Guards were already being held back by the Battle Hall experts and the Battle Axe experts. The Imperial Divine Guards had the advantage, but it wasn't huge. Dongli Zhan retracted his gaze and looked at the God Word Master. Did the Cosmos Court still have a trump card? At this moment, the space behind the God Word Master suddenly split apart. In the next moment, a terrifying pressure suddenly surged out. Seeing this scene, Dongli Zhan's face sank. The Cosmos Court still had a trump card. Very soon, a middle-aged man riding a horse slowly walked out. The middle-aged man wore a dark golden battle armor. The armor was as smooth as a mirror, and it emitted a strange light. One look and anyone could tell that it was an extraordinary item. Beneath him, the horse wasn't an ordinary horse either. It had 2 tails and a horn on its head that was as long as a sharp blade. Its body was huge, several times the size of a horse. Its entire body was pitch black, and its 4 legs were covered in flames. More importantly, this horse was at the Heavenly Way realm, or beast. A powerful demonic beast specially nurtured by the Cosmos Court. As for the middle-aged man, he was the commander of the Temple Knights, Li Daopan. He was also a mortal realm expert. The moment Li Daopan appeared, a group of cavalry followed him out. Temple Knights. The cavalry that the Cosmos Court nurtured themselves. There were more than 1,200 of them. All of them were peak Heavenly Way realm experts. Their auras were even stronger than the Imperial Divine Guards of the Undying Emperor clan. At this moment, the God Word Master suddenly said, "Kill the Spirit Ancestor first." Spirit Ancestor. The Spirit Ancestor had crippled their God Word Masters. He had to die. Actually, in the Cosmos Court, other than the protectors of the laws of the universe, the God Word Hall's strength was extremely terrifying. They weren't any weaker than the Temple Knights. However, they were restrained. They were completely restrained by the Spirit Ancestor. If not for the Spirit Ancestor, the Cosmos Court wouldn't have needed to reveal so many trump cards to destroy the Undying Emperor clan. In the starry sky, Li Daopan's gaze fell on the little white fellow. At the next moment he pointed at her. "Kill." As his voice fell, the 1,200 people behind him swooped down from the starry sky. As they swooped down, the entire starry sky turned illusory. It was extremely terrifying. Below, the little white fellow was shocked. She blinked her eyes. She didn't understand why these people wanted to attack her. At this moment, Yi Xian suddenly roared. "They want to snatch your Tonghulu." Hearing Yi Xian's words, the God Word Master was stunned. Snatch the Tonghulu? What the hell? Below, when the little white fellow heard Yi Xian's words, she was stunned for a moment. Then she flew into a rage. Fighting was one thing, but snatching the Tonghulu? Wasn't that a sore loser? Snatching her Tonghulu. How could she tolerate that? The little white fellow hurriedly hid the Tonghulu. Then she took out a storage ring out of nowhere. Following that, she quickly searched through the storage ring. No one knew what she was looking for. Chapter 1572. It didn't take long for the white little fellow to flip a box over. Meanwhile, the group of Templar Knights had charged up to her. The white little fellow immediately opened the box. Bang! A powerful force suddenly swept out from the box. As this force surged out, the Knights Templar were actually forced to a stop by this force. How terrifying was the strength and speed of the Templar Knights after they charged forward. Yet at this moment, they were actually forced to a stop by this force. In the starry sky, the Divine Word Master's eyes were filled with disbelief as he stared fixedly at the black box. At this moment, a black shadow slowly floated out from within the box. Gradually, the black shadow condensed into a little girl that appeared in front of the little white fellow. The little girl had 2 horns on her head and a tail. As soon as the little girl appeared, the white little fellow immediately withdrew a Tonghulu and passed it to the little girl. The little girl licked it, and then she raised her head to gaze at the group of Templar Knights. A trace of viciousness flashed through her eyes, and then she shot into the sky. The commander of the Templar Knights, Li Daopan, suddenly dove down from midair, and then he stabbed his spear towards the little girl. However, the little girl didn't dodge at all, and she just punched him. Bang! Everyone watched as Li Daopan was forced to a stop, and then the spear in his hand broke apart while Li Daopan was blasted flying. However, the little girl didn't move at all, and she didn't even take a single step back. The countless experts of the Cosmos God Court were shocked by this scene. What sort of strength is that? The Divine Word Master stared fixedly at the little girl. Where did she come from? Suddenly Li Daopan said, "Charge." As soon as he finished speaking, the Templar Knights by his side immediately dove down towards the little girl. Obviously, they intended to gang up on her. A wisp of a ferocious smile appeared on the corners of the little girl's mouth when she saw the Templar Knights charging at her. And then she suddenly roared furiously. Bang! This roar caused the entire starry sky to crack apart. On the other hand, the Templar Knights stopped in unison. It wasn't them who had stopped. It was the war beasts beneath them that had stopped. All the war beasts knelt down slowly and trembled. Bloodline suppression. Seeing this scene, the Knights Templar were dumbfounded. These war beasts were carefully nurtured by the Cosmos God Court. Their bloodlines were not simple. It could be said that even some divine beasts could not suppress them with their bloodlines. Moreover, they were all at the peak of the Heavenway realm. But now, all the beasts were suppressed. The divine oracle was also dumbfounded. He stared at the little girl. Where did this little girl come from? At this time, Moon Yinyan stopped. All the Master Yen in the Hall of Yen had been killed by her. Moon Yinyan turned to look at the Divine Word Master. that Tendo didn't continue hitting the Divine Word Master. Actually, she was just beating him up symbolically. After all, she wouldn't become a mortal enemy of the Cosmos God Court. The reason why she was beating him up was to give face to the spirit ancestor. However, Moon Yin was not afraid of becoming enemies with the Cosmos God Court. She immediately disappeared from where she was. A wisp of sword light slashed straight at the Divine Word Master. Suddenly, Li Daofan appeared in front of the Divine Word Master. A spear appeared in his hand, and he thrust it forward. Boom! A wisp of sword light and spear light suddenly exploded. Li Daofan turned to look at the Divine Oracle. Don't hold back anymore. With that, he charged straight at Moon Yin. The Divine Oracle looked at the situation around him. At this moment, they were still in a stalemate. However, the situation was becoming more and more disadvantageous for them, because of the addition of the spirit ancestor and the little girl. The little white fellow had completely wiped out the Divine Oracle army, while the little girl had crippled half of the Knights Templar. Could a knight without a horse still be considered a knight? Moreover, the guardians of the universe, Ma Yi and Mu Xiaodao, were being held back by Dongli Jing and Tu. It was impossible to determine the victor between the four of them in a short period of time. The Divine Oracle slowly closed his eyes. He knew that if he wanted to end the battle, just relying on these people wasn't enough. The most difficult to deal with were the spirit ancestor and the little girl. As long as he could get rid of these two fellows, as long as he could restrain them, he would be able to obtain victory. Because right now, the Cosmos Godly Court had an additional 1,200 Knights Templar. If these 1,200 Knights Templar were to join the battle, then they would be able to crush everything, including the Undying Emperor clan's most elite Divine Guard. After all, the Divine Guard was being held back by the experts of the War Hall and the Battle Axe experts. The biggest problem now was the spirit ancestor and the little girl. When he thought up to here, the Divine Oracle suddenly raised his head and looked towards the depths of the starry sky. Then he slowly closed his eyes and chanted swiftly. He wasn't chanting, and he seemed to be summoning something. The little white fellow blinked when she saw this scene. She pointed at the Divine Oracle, and then she looked at the little girl. The little girl licked her candied fruit and said, "He might be about to surrender." The little white fellow was speechless. Right at this moment, the space above the little girl suddenly split open. In the next moment, an enormous mirror floated out slowly. As soon as the mirror appeared, the boundless starry sky and the surroundings started to tremble, and then boundless stellar energy surged towards the mirror. The Divine Reflection Mirror. It was a precious treasure of the Cosmos Godly Court. In the boundless starry sky, boundless stellar energy surged towards the Divine Reflection Mirror. It wasn't just the stellar energy from this starry sky. Even the stellar energy from the surrounding starry sky was surging towards it. The little girl gazed at the Divine Reflection Mirror indifferently, and she continued to lick her candied fruit. The little white fellow was licking her candied fruit as well. However, there was something wrong with her gaze when she looked at the Divine Reflection Mirror. It seemed as if she was looking at candied fruit. Right at this moment, a dazzling pillar of starlight suddenly erupted from the Divine Reflection Mirror. The pillar of starlight was over 1 kilometer long, and it descended straight down from the starry sky. Its target was the little girl and the little white fellow. The little girl placed the candied fruit in her mouth, and she slowly clenched her right fist. She was about to attack when the little white fellow suddenly stopped her and pointed at herself. She indicated that she should do it. The little girl thought for a moment, and then she nodded. The little white fellow suddenly floated up and watched as the pillar of starlight descended. She didn't show any fear at all. On the contrary, she seemed to be very excited. Actually, both she and the little girl weren't in their main bodies. They were just clones, and clones consumed energy. If she wanted to play a little longer, then she had to absorb energy. Under normal circumstances, she wouldn't take the initiative to absorb energy at will because that would destroy the balance. If she did that, then the spiritual energy of an entire universe might vanish. That would cause the deaths of many living beings. But now, she wasn't going to refuse the energy that was being offered to her. In front of everyone's eyes, the little white fellow suddenly flew up and directly entered the starlight pillar. Everyone was speechless. It didn't take long for the pillar of starlight to vanish. After that, the little white fellow appeared before everyone's eyes. At this moment, she was even more solid than before. She directly absorbed it. The Divine Word Master and the others were stunned. She'd absorbed such powerful energy just like that? The Divine Word Master seemed to have thought of something, and his expression suddenly turned unsightly. He didn't know much about the spirit ancestor, because the Cosmos Godly Court didn't have one. But now it seemed like the spirit ancestor was absolutely immune to all energy. Not only was she immune to it, she could even absorb it. However, that wasn't the end of it. Meanwhile, the little white fellow raised her head to look at the mirror, and she waved her little claw. The mirror trembled slightly before it transformed into a ray of starlight that flew over to the little white fellow. The little white fellow tossed the divine reflection mirror into her spatial ring, and then she peeked at the surroundings. When she noticed that everyone was looking at her, she hesitated for a moment, and then she covered her eyes with a very embarrassed expression. Everyone was speechless. Meanwhile, the little white fellow gazed at the Divine Word Master, raised the divine-looking mirror, and grinned as if she was thanking him. The Divine Word Master almost spat out a mouthful of blood. The most shocking thing was that the little fellow's expression wasn't filled with ridicule at all. She was really thanking him. At this moment, the 1,200 Knights Templar seemed to have received some kind of order. They dashed toward Yi Xian directly. Yi Xian and the others were currently engaged in a fierce battle with the mysterious scythe-wielding experts. Since the Templars had suddenly joined the fray, they definitely wouldn't be able to stop them. Suddenly, Yi Xian roared angrily, "Retreat!" As he spoke, he led over 100 people to retreat, behind the little girl and Little White. The little girl sized up Yi Xian, and was about to speak when Yi Xian took out a stick of candied hawthorn, and gave it to the little girl. "Brother here." The little girl blinked, and then said seriously, "We're all on the same side. What's the use of this?" As she spoke, she put the candied hawthorn away without batting an eyelid. Yi Xian was speechless. Meanwhile, the Templars had already charged over. Yi Xian tugged on the little girl's clothes lightly. "Can you beat them?" The little girl shook her head. Yi Xian's expression froze. The little girl suddenly put the candied hawthorn in her mouth. "Little White, I'll hold them back. Call for reinforcements." As soon as she finished speaking, she leaped up and charged forward. Boom! The little girl was like a bomb. The moment she charged forward, over 10 Templars were smashed into smithereens. Her strength was truly too terrifying. "Call for reinforcements." Yi Xian looked at the little white fella. The little white fella blinked, and then she closed her eyes slowly. She started waving her little claws. Seeing this, the God Word Master's expression changed drastically. He hurriedly roared angrily, "Hurry up and stop her. Don't let her call for reinforcements." He finally understood. None of the people this little fella called for were normal. As soon as the God Word Master's voice landed, the surrounding experts charged towards the little white fella. Yi Xian led over 100 Undying Clan demons and charged forward. He had to buy time for this little fella. He was very clear that the Undying Emperor clan's overall strength couldn't compare to the Cosmos God Court. Now, he had to borrow the strength of the little white fella and the little girl. Otherwise, the Undying Emperor clan would be in a very difficult situation. At this moment, the little white fella suddenly muttered. It wasn't human language. It was beast language. In the distance, the God Word Master's expression suddenly turned malevolent. He slowly closed his eyes and chanted some ancient incantations. Gradually, a mysterious black hole appeared behind him. It was unknown where this mysterious black hole was connected to. An extremely powerful aura slowly seeped out of it. He was also calling for reinforcements. Both sides were calling for reinforcements. Now, it was a competition of connections. P.S. Tomorrow will be even more exciting. Everyone can follow my official WeChat account, Green Muon Peak. There's my handsome picture. There's a poem. If you don't see the green muon in your life, it's all in vain to please all the handsome men. Once you see the green muon, you'll miss your whole life. People call you Guizhou's Wu Yifan. Chapter 1573. In the starry sky, the battle was getting more and more intense and bitter. The Undying Emperor clan's Undying Blood Cavalry had less than 600 men left, while their enemies, the Great Qing Dynasty's cavalry, had less than 20,000 men left. The cavalry of both sides were still charging wildly. Neither side chose to retreat, nor did they dare to retreat. A cavalry charge was all about momentum. Whoever retreated would die. Very quickly, both sides began a new round of clashes. Below, the Undying Emperor clan's Dao soldiers were also fighting the Great Qing Dynasty's army. This battlefield was still fine, because the Undying Emperor clan not only had Dao soldiers, but also experts from the 7th and 8th dimensions, and the 10 realms. It could be said that the Undying Emperor clan was already crushing the Great Qing Dynasty's army, and of the 200,000 Great Qing Dynasty's army, only less than 100,000 remained. On the other side, the Great Qing Dynasty's golden armor guards were also being held up by Yi Xian's demonic beasts. Although the group of golden armored guards was powerful, they really couldn't do anything to these demonic beasts. Although these demonic beasts didn't look good, their strength was really indescribable. Especially their physical bodies, it was too terrifying. The most intense battle was between the Undying Emperor clan's elite troops and the experts of the Cosmos God Court. The Undying Emperor clan's Shadow Guards and Dark Hall's battle was the strangest. Both sides were assassins, and assassins fought assassins. Strength was not the only thing that mattered, but also the details. In the starry sky, black shadows would occasionally flash past between the two sides. Both sides had people falling, but no one knew who those people were, and no one even knew when they died. Both sides knew that they had to stop the other side. Otherwise, if one side's assassins joined the battle below, it would be a huge disaster for the other side. For example, if the Great Qing Dynasty's cavalry cooperated with the Shadow Guards to fight the Great Qing Dynasty's cavalry, they could easily destroy the entire Great Qing Dynasty's cavalry. Assassins were all about sneak attacks, and on the battlefield, the most terrifying thing was to be sneak attacked. Thus, the assassins of both sides were doing their best to stop the other side. The most intense battle was between the Undying Emperor clan's Imperial Guards and the Battle Hall's experts, as well as the Battle Axe experts. As the strongest army of the Undying Emperor clan, there was naturally no need to doubt the battle prowess of the Imperial Guards. As for the experts of the Battle Hall, they were also extremely powerful. Thus, the battle between the two parties was world-shaking and the most bitter, because the experts from both sides, even if they were missing arms and legs, were still fighting crazily, a true battle to the death. Marshal Mu Tian and Dong Lijian didn't make a move in the starry sky, because the armies on both sides were under the command of the two of them. Of course, Marshal Mu Tian was more anxious at this moment. This was because of the 200,000 elites of the Great Qing Dynasty that he had brought with him. Now there were less than 100,000 left. In at most an hour, his soldiers would be eaten, and he had no way of transferring people from other places to help. Originally, his only hope was the Cosmos God Court's St. Palace Regiment. As long as these St. Palace Regiment charged downwards, he would be able to turn the tables. However, those beasts were directly suppressed by the little girl's bloodline. The Knights Templar's combat power was crippled by at least 30%. Moreover, the Knights Templar were actually held back by that little girl. Actually, the ones who were hurt the most were Teacher Yan from before. These Teacher Yans were truly terrifying. There were less than 1,000 of them, but they could stop an army of hundreds of thousands. However, he was directly crippled by the Spirit Ancestor. Now Mu Tian could only place his hopes on the Divine Word Master. He hoped that the Divine Word Master would call over some more formidable experts. Otherwise, it wouldn't be long before the outcome of the battle would be decided. Right at this moment, the space behind the Divine Word Master suddenly trembled violently. In the next moment, a woman walked out from within. The woman wore a simple cotton dress, her long hair was tied up high, and she carried a sword on her back. A guardian of the universe. At the sight of this, Yi Xian, who was fighting below, suddenly paled. Another guardian of the universe. And it was a swordsman. Just a glance was enough to tell that she wasn't an ordinary swordsman. At the instant that the woman walked out, her gaze descended onto Yi Xian. In the next moment, she suddenly took a step forward, and as her foot descended, a strand of sword light flashed. Hiss! A sword had arrived above Yi Xian's head. Yi Xian didn't dodge, and he allowed the sword to enter his body. Bang! A powerful energy suddenly erupted from within his body. He absorbed it directly. Yi Xian heaved a sigh of relief in his heart after he absorbed it. Actually, he was slightly afraid. After all, this woman was clearly an ordinary sword, and he wasn't sure if he could absorb an ordinary sword. Fortunately, he could. Perhaps it was because he was at the mortal realm as well. If he hadn't attained the mortal realm, then this attack would definitely have taken his life. The woman immediately retreated into the starry sky when she saw her sword being absorbed. She gazed at Yi Xian while her beautiful brows knit together slightly, and there was a trace of bewilderment in her eyes. Meanwhile, the Divine Word Master suddenly said, "Miss Seventh Sword, ignore the person with the adversity body. Deal with the little white fellow below first." The woman called Seventh Sword gazed at the little white fellow below. In the next moment, she vanished on the spot, and a strand of sword light slashed towards the little white fellow. Yi Xian's expression instantly changed when he witnessed this scene, and he charged over to the little white fellow and blocked this attack for her. Bang! Yi Xian absorbed the strand of sword light once more. Seventh Sword returned to her original position once more. She gazed at Yi Xian with her large eyes filled with bewilderment. Meanwhile, Mu Tian spoke abruptly from afar. "Miss Seventh Sword, this person's physique is special. He can absorb swords. He can devour swords." Sword Qi sized up Yi Xian, and then she vanished on the spot in the next moment. Yi Xian didn't dodge at all, and he just allowed the woman to stab him with her sword. However, right when the sword was about to stab him, the sword in the woman's hand suddenly vanished, and then she slammed her fist against Yi Xian's chest. Bang! Yi Xian's entire body was blasted flying for thousands of meters away, and he smashed the space there into pieces. Yi Xian was slightly stunned in the shattered space. Damn it! This woman cultivates both the sword and the martial arts? Yi Xian didn't think too much about it, and he immediately lay flat on the ground. Fortunately, he possessed the undying bloodline and a formidable physical body. Otherwise, he might have died just now. After the woman blasted Yi Xian away with her fist, she slashed at the little white fellow that was still summoning. The little white fellow was very serious about summoning, and no one knew who she was summoning. When she saw the sword slashing towards her, she blinked, and then hurriedly took out an ancient broken shield from her storage ring and placed it in front of her. Bang! The woman's sword slashed at the broken shield, and it trembled violently. The little white fellow was completely unharmed, but the woman herself was blasted thousands of meters away. After the woman stopped, she looked at her right hand. Her right hand had actually cracked. The woman looked at the broken shield in front of the little white fellow, and her eyes were filled with disbelief, because the power of her sword strike had been completely reflected back at her. What kind of shield is this? After the woman was blasted back, the little white fellow continued summoning. She was summoning a little too much. Meanwhile, the Divine Word Master in the starry sky wasn't idle either. He was summoning as well. At this moment, Yi Xian suddenly appeared in front of the little white fellow. He looked at the broken shield and gulped. "Bye, can you lend this to me?" The little white fellow looked at Yi Xian, and she was somewhat hesitant. Yi Xian took out a stick of candied hawthorn and handed it to her. The little white fellow didn't hesitate at all, and she immediately handed the ancient shield to Yi Xian. Yi Xian picked up the ancient shield with some excitement. The moment he picked up the ancient shield, he immediately felt a mysterious power. It was the power of this ancient shield. Yi Xian opened his right hand, and the sword spirit appeared in his hand. He looked at the woman in the cotton dress and laughed. "Come and fight." As soon as he finished speaking, he charged at the seventh swordsman. In the distance, the sword in the seventh swordsman's hand disappeared. She knew that she couldn't use her sword to deal with this person. The seventh swordsman punched out, and his fist flashed. The moment the seventh swordsman punched out, Yi Xian blocked with the shield in front of him. Boom! As the fist flashed, the seventh swordsman was blasted thousands of feet away. Along the way, the space collapsed and was annihilated. Yi Xian was a little stunned. Was it really that terrifying? Yi Xian looked at the ancient shield in his hand, and he was shocked to the extreme. This was the guardian of the universe. Defeated by this shield? What kind of godly and heaven-defying thing was this? In the distance, the seventh swordsman was also a little stunned. What the hell had he encountered? This guy could swallow swords, and he had this strange shield. How could he fight? The seventh swordsman felt a little sullen at this moment. At this moment, the Divine Word Master suddenly looked at Mu Xiaodao below. Miss Mu, you guys switch opponents. Mu Xiaodao's opponent was two. Hearing the Divine Word Master's words, Mu Xiaodao directly rushed at the distant Yi Xian. She had long wanted to fight Yi Xian. The seventh swordsman rushed at two. Both of them were top-rate swordsmen. As soon as they fought, sword light shot out violently. As for Mu Xiaodao, a throwing knife arrived first as she charged at Yi Xian. Yi Xian didn't feel any pressure at all, and he blocked it with his shield. Bang! The throwing knife was directly ricocheted off, and slashed at Mu Xiaodao at an extremely terrifying speed. Mu Xiaodao blinked and hurriedly opened her palm, causing a throwing knife to fly out. Bang! The two throwing knives exploded into nothingness as soon as they came into contact. Mu Xiaodao was extremely shocked when she witnessed this scene, and she looked at the broken shield in Yi Xian's hand. What shield is that? Yi Xian twisted his neck and chuckled. Guess. Mu Xiaodao hesitated for a moment and said, Can you lend it to me? I'll definitely return it. I swear on my character. Yi Xian shouted angrily. You have no morals at all. You're a really bad woman. As soon as he finished speaking, he charged at Mu Xiaodao. Mu Xiaodao. On the other side, the space behind the divine oracle suddenly trembled violently. In next to no time, countless formidable auras suddenly arose from that expanse of space. At the same time, the starry sky and the surroundings started to tremble violently, as if an earthquake was about to occur. A powerful being was approaching this star domain. The Divine Word Master looked down at the little white fellow and grinned. My people have arrived. Where's yours? Competing in numbers? Who in the 10,000 worlds could fight against the Cosmos God Court? Below, the little white guy stopped. Chapter 1574. In the starry sky, a group of mysterious white-robed experts walked out from behind the Divine Word Master. There were a total of 28 white-robed experts. All of them wore black masks, so their faces could not be seen clearly. In their hands, they held some sort of circular flywheel. Following the appearance of these 28 people, the Divine Word Master heaved a sigh of relief. The Cosmos Divine Court was huge and mysterious. How mysterious was it? It could be said that even he, the Divine Word Master, did not know how powerful the Cosmos Divine Court was. He also did not know how many halls there were in the Cosmos Divine Court, because everyone had their own duties and was in charge of different starfields and universes. Many halls did not know each other. For example, their Yen Hall was only in charge of researching ancient techniques and spells. They rarely interfered in other matters. This time, they were sent to capture the sinner of misfortune under the orders of the mysterious God Hall. And these 28 people were from the mysterious God Hall. He did not know much about the mysterious God Hall. He only knew that the mysterious God Hall was of a higher level than the Yen Hall. Following the appearance of these 28 people, Dong Lijian's face instantly darkened. The Cosmos Divine Court had sent more experts. Moreover, the cultivation of these mysterious white-robed people had already surpassed the Heavenly Way realm. The Cosmos Divine Court was stronger than he had expected. At this moment, the leading white-robed expert suddenly took off his mask. It was an old face. The mysterious God Hall's Hall Master Lin Song. Lin Song's gaze fell on the white little fellow below. When he saw the little fellow, a trace of disappointment flashed across his eyes. It's just a clone. What a pity. If this was the main body, it would be great if the Cosmos Divine Court could control it. Spirit Ancestor. Currently, although the Cosmos Divine Court had spiritual halls, There was no existence at the level of the spirit ancestor. A spirit ancestor was really very useful. Below, the white little fellow had already finished summoning. She took out her candied fruit and continued to lick it. This time, she had summoned a lot of them. She was very tired. She had to replenish herself. Lin Song shook his head again. What a pity. If this was the main body of the spirit ancestor, he would have brought it to the Cosmos Divine Court regardless of the price. Unfortunately, it wasn't. However, it didn't matter. Since he had a clone, it meant that he had a main body. After this matter was over, with the strength of the Cosmos God Court, it wouldn't be difficult for them to find the main body of the spirit ancestor. Lin Song looked at the nearby Yi Xian. At this moment, Yi Xian was still fighting with Mu Xiaodao. At this moment, Mu Xiaodao was extremely angry, because she couldn't do anything to Yi Xian because he had this worn-out ancient shield. That shield had 100% chance of reflecting damage. How were they supposed to play? However, Yi Xian couldn't do anything to her. Both sides were in a stalemate. At this time Lin Song suddenly said, "Kill." As soon as he finished speaking, a white-robed powerhouse behind him suddenly took a step forward. In the next moment, the flywheel in his hand directly flew out. Chi! An extremely ear-piercing sound of tearing resounded abruptly. In the distance, Yi Xian's expression suddenly changed. He turned around and raised his shield to block. Boom! The flywheel was blasted flying, and it slashed towards the white-robed powerhouse at an extremely terrifying speed. The white-robed powerhouse was slightly stunned. He hadn't expected that Yi Xian's shield would be so terrifying that it could actually reflect damage. Right at this moment, Lin Song suddenly pressed his right hand forward lightly, and then the flywheel was forced to stop around 3 m in front of him. Lin Song gazed at Yi Xian, and then he pressed his finger lightly against the flywheel. Bang! The space in front of Yi Xian was suddenly obliterated. Yi Xian's expression changed drastically, and he immediately raised his shield to block it. Bang! An explosion resounded, and then Yi Xian was suddenly pushed 3 kilometers back. However, the space in front of Lin Song had been obliterated as well. However, Lin Song wasn't injured at all. Lin Song furrowed his brows. This ancient shield was more than a little strange. In the distance, after Yi Xian came to a stop, his face fell, because he realized that the mysterious power in his ancient shield seemed to have disappeared. It was gone. If that mysterious energy didn't exist, then it might be impossible to reflect damage. Yi Xian hurriedly ran over to the white fellow. The white fellow blinked, and then it lightly blew a mouthful of violet energy into the shield. Bang! The shield seemed to have been activated, and it instantly emanated a mysterious dark glow. Moreover, that mysterious energy had appeared once more. Yi Xian blinked. It needs to replenish its energy? The little fellow nodded. Yi Xian was slightly speechless. So it turns out that it needs to replenish its energy. Fortunately, I have violet energy as well. Lin Song gazed at Yi Xian. Attack together. Obviously, he didn't intend to fight Chen Shi by himself. Ganging up on him was the way to go. As soon as he finished speaking, Lin Song took the lead and charged towards Yi Xian. Behind him were 27 experts that had surpassed the heavenly Dao realm. They intended to kill Yi Xian. Yi Xian's expression gradually became ferocious when he saw the 27 of them charge at him. He knew that he couldn't defeat them even with the shield. After all, Mu Xiaodao was glaring fiercely from the side, and was ready to attack at any moment. However, he had to fight even if he couldn't defeat them. Yi Xian held the sword spirit tightly in his right hand, and was about to activate his bloodline. Meanwhile, the white fellow by his side suddenly pressed down on him with its little claw. Yi Xian turned to look at the little fellow. The little fellow grinned, and then it pointed its little claw towards the sky. Yi Xian raised his head. Right at this moment, a black shadow suddenly shot into the sky. Bang! The sky suddenly turned pitch black, and Lin Song, who was charging at the front, was forcefully stopped on the spot by a powerful force. In front of him was a bull. To be more precise, it was an enormous bull that was the size of a hill. It was this bull that had forcefully stopped Lin Song. Little bull. The demon beast that was cultivating in Xiao Tao's body. However, the experts behind Lin Song weren't stopped, and they charged directly at Yi Xian. But right at this moment, the surrounding starry sky suddenly trembled. In the next moment, countless furious roars resounded in the surrounding starry sky, the furious roars of demon beasts. As the furious roars resounded, the space behind the white fellow suddenly split open. In the next moment, countless powerful demon beasts suddenly charged out and collided with the group of experts from the God Mystery Palace. There were a lot of demon beasts, and a few thousand of them charged out. Moreover, more were charging out ceaselessly. Rumble! The 27 experts were caught off guard and were directly knocked flying. Shen Yan and Lin Song were stunned. At this moment, there were tens of thousands of demon beasts in the starry sky, and there were all sorts of demon beasts. That wasn't the main point. The main point was that the weakest among them was at the peak of the heavenly Tao realm. Where did they come from? Right at this moment, the demon beasts turned around to look at the white fellow, and then they laid down in a subservient manner. The white fellow grinned and raised its little claw lightly. The demon beasts slowly stood up, but their eyes were filled with reverence and excitement as they gazed at the white fellow. Where did all these demon beasts come from? All of them had received the white fellow's kindness in the past. The white fellow didn't have a good impression of humans, but she had a good impression of demon beasts. She'd gone to so many places with the green-clothed man, and she'd met many demon beasts along the way. Moreover, her violet energy was simply something that could change the fate of demon beasts, the spiritual energy of the spirit ancestor. So when they heard the white fellow's call, the demon beasts tore through the starry sky and charged over. Actually, there were still some powerful demon beasts on the way. The heaven god stared fixedly at the spirit ancestor, and he was about to speak. Meanwhile, the white little fellow slapped its claw forward. In an instant, the starry sky and the surroundings suddenly trembled violently. In the next moment, countless pieces of space were torn apart, and then countless spirits charged out. They were all spirits of heaven and earth, and they were densely packed together. There were even some Tendo spirits from other worlds amongst them. Most of these Tendo spirits had received the spirit ancestor's kindness in the past, and some had rushed over after hearing the spirit ancestor's call. The spirit ancestor's call. She had to come. It didn't take long for a few 100,000 spirits of heaven and earth to appear in the starry sky, and they surrounded the white fellow intimately when they saw her. Besides that, there were over 100,000 demon beasts. Of course, only 36,000 were at the peak of the heavenly might realm, and most of the demon beasts that had rushed over were at the divine guard realm. Most importantly, there was an endless stream of demon beasts rushing over. At this moment, the numbers on both sides had been completely reversed. Shen Yan stared fixedly at the demon beasts and spirits of heaven and earth, and then he withdrew a divine decree and spoke in a low voice. We've been ordered by the divine decree to capture the sinner of misfortune. If you dare to help the sinner of misfortune, then you'll suffer for eternity. At this moment, the little white fellow threw the candied hawthorn stick at the god firmament. Then, she pointed her little claw at the god firmament angrily and babbled, but no one knew what she was saying. It didn't take long for the powerful demon beasts to charge towards Shen Yan's group. At the same time, the spirits of heaven and earth charged towards Shen Yan's group as well. What Cosmos Court? They didn't know them at all. The Cosmos Court was too mysterious. The number of people who knew about them was too little. Of course, it was useless even if they knew. Could the spirit ancestors' appeal lose to the Cosmos Court? Shen Yan's face instantly turned extremely unsightly when he saw the spirits of heaven and earth charging towards him. He suddenly opened his palm, and a golden talisman shot into the sky. The golden talisman entered the starry sky and transformed into a huge teleportation formation. It didn't take long for a strange aura to sweep out from within the teleportation formation. It was still calling for help. The Mystery Palace couldn't compare to the Divine Speech Palace. The Mystery Palace controlled the 36 palaces, and the experts they could mobilize weren't something the Divine Speech Masters could compare to. Shen Yan stared fixedly at the white little fellow. You want to compare people? I'm afraid you can't compete with me. Really? At this moment, the space behind the little white fellow suddenly split open. In the next moment, a man in green slowly walked out. P.S. Ask for a ticket. Chapter 1575. Is that so? As soon as these words resounded, the surroundings suddenly fell silent. At a certain spot in the shadows, the mysterious woman who'd been protecting Yi Xian trembled slightly. She turned around and looked behind the little white fellow. A green-clothed man was walking out slowly from there. The green-clothed man looked very young, and he looked very similar to Yi Xian. Moreover, there was a trace of a smile on his face, and it was a very calm smile. It was still that familiar smile. The mysterious woman gazed at the green-clothed man with an extremely complicated expression in her eyes. On the other hand, some experts from the undying imperial clan gazed at the green-clothed man as well. When they saw the green-clothed man, the expressions of the undying emperor clan experts immediately became complicated. Especially Dong Lijian. He'd been hiding in the shadows during that battle, and that was why he hadn't died. Moreover, he'd personally witnessed this man slaughter the undying imperial clan, and he'd even almost annihilated them. Now he'd appeared once more. The little white fellow instantly grinned when she saw the green-clothed man, and then she flew over to him and rubbed her head against his forehead in an extremely intimate manner. The green-clothed man grinned, and then he rubbed the little white fellow while his eyes were filled with affection. Lin Song stared fixedly at the green-clothed man. This isn't your main body. He'd noticed that this wasn't the man's main body, but his voice still carried a trace of seriousness, because he couldn't sense the aura of this clone. Who exactly is he? Actually, the Cosmos Court had investigated the people behind Yi Xian. However, they'd placed their focus on the woman in a simple dress because she'd attacked many times. They knew a little about the green-clothed man Dao Yi, but they didn't know much about him. The green-clothed man didn't answer Lin Song. Instead, he gazed at Yi Xian, and he grinned when he saw Yi Xian. We meet again. Yi Xian fell silent for a moment before he said, Should I call you father or senior? Actually, Yi Xian wasn't stupid, and he'd guessed the green-clothed man's identity a long time ago. They had the same bloodline, and they even looked alike. Even an idiot would know what was going on. The green-robed man smiled and said, Just call me father. Calling me senior doesn't sound nice. Yi Xian was just about to ask something when the green-clothed man said, I know you have many questions, but this clone of mine doesn't have the time to waste. So I'll answer them for you in the future. Yi Xian thought about it and nodded. All right. The green-robed man looked up at the seventh swordsman, who was fighting with Tuesday. The next moment he pointed with his fingers. Qi. A wisp of sword qi pierced through the air. Up in the sky, seventh swordsman's expression changed drastically. She suddenly held her sword with both hands and slashed forward. This was an all-out attack. However, the sword in her hand shattered as soon as it descended. In the next moment, her figure was blasted flying. As she flew, her body was obliterated inch by inch. It wasn't just her body, even her soul was being obliterated. However, at the instant when she was about to perish, a mysterious force suddenly enveloped her, and then she vanished. The azure-robed man looked into the depths of the starry sky and smiled. He did not attack again. He could kill the other party, but there was no need to. She was just a nobody. The expressions of the experts of the Cosmos Court changed when they saw the azure-robed man attack, especially Shin Firmament, who led the group. He almost killed a protector in an instant with a single attack. At this moment, Shin Firmament's heart was on the verge of collapse. After all, the strength of the protectors of the laws of the Cosmos Court was extremely terrifying. In a one-on-one battle, such protectors could fight on par with anyone, including him. However, he was almost killed in an instant just now. On the other side, Mu Xiaodao gazed at the azure-robed man, blinked, and then turned around and fled. She'd confirmed that she absolutely couldn't defeat him. Mu Xiaodao didn't hesitate at all to flee. In her opinion, she would absolutely not make pointless sacrifices. If she could win, then she would fight. If she couldn't, then she would flee. Life was so beautiful, so she had to cherish it. The woman in linen clothes didn't flee. She just gazed at the azure-robed man with a solemn expression in her eyes. The azure-robed man gazed at where Arya was. At this moment, Arya was in an intense battle with the Divine Hall Knights, and they couldn't do anything to her at all. If it was in terms of physical defense, then she could be said to be the best in the universe. Even the green-robed man, one of the 3 swords, who had cultivated his physical body, was no match for her. She was the ancestor of evil beasts, and on top of that, she followed the little white fellow every day. She drank the primordial purple vapor almost every day. How could she not be number 1? Meanwhile, the green-clothed man suddenly slashed with his sword. A ray of sword light flashed through the battlefield. She in the sky. The heads of the 1,200 over Knights Templar flew out, before falling neatly to the ground. The surroundings suddenly fell deathly silent. 1 sword to kill over 1,200 peak Heavenway realm experts. How were they supposed to play? Those Cosmos God Court experts were in despair. At this moment, the little white fellow by the green-clothed man's side suddenly pointed at Shintian, and then it waved its little claws swiftly. No one knew what it was trying to say. A moment later, the green-robed man looked at the firmament god. The firmament god glared at the green-robed man and said, "My people are here." Just as he finished speaking, the black hole behind him suddenly emitted an extremely powerful aura. This aura was powerful, but it also carried a trace of antiquity. It didn't seem to belong to this era. Who was it that came? Everyone gazed at the black hole. All the experts on the undying Imperial clan's side had extremely solemn expressions on their faces. Suddenly, the green-robed man drew his sword and slashed. Hiss! A strand of sword light entered the spatial black hole. After a moment of silence, a bloody head rolled out from within the spatial black hole. Moreover, the powerful and ancient aura had vanished. Everyone was petrified. The firmament god's face turned pale, and he was terrified to the point of retreating repeatedly. At this moment, he was truly terrified. He was dead just like that. A peerless expert hadn't even shown his face, yet had died just like that. Exactly what realm is this green-robed man at? The green-robed man gazed at the firmament god and smiled. "I won't bully you. Why don't you call some more people over? It's best if you call the universe laws behind your cosmos court. To tell you the truth, I've been looking for them for a very long time. I have no other intentions. I just want to chat and drink some tea." The universe laws. Tu took a deep and long glance at the green-robed man. Just as she'd guessed, both this fellow and that woman were looking for the universe laws. However, even with their strength, could they not find them? The firmament god looked at Yi Xian. "Your Excellency, you sure talk big." The universe laws were above the cosmos court. Yet this man wanted to challenge them? Below, the green-robed man smiled. "Actually, I've been to your cosmos court before. Unfortunately, the universe laws aren't there. As for you..." As he spoke, he looked at Yi Xian in the distance. "I wanted to leave this to you, but I didn't expect you to leave so quickly. You've reached the 9-dimensional universe in an instant." "Yi Xian." The green-robed man looked at the firmament god. "Do you still want to call for more people? If you do, I can wait for a while." The firmament god fell silent for a moment before saying, "Who are you?" The green-robed man smiled and pointed at Yi Xian in the distance. "I'm his father." The firmament god glared at the green-robed man. "Do you know what you're doing? You're going against the universe laws and order. You're going against the heavens." The green-robed man shrugged and smiled. "It's just going against the heavens. It's not a big deal. I'm used to it anyway." The crowd. The firmament god suddenly roared furiously. "How dare you? How dare you blaspheme the heavens?" Chi. A strand of sword light suddenly pierced through the firmament god's forehead. Boom. The firmament god's soul was destroyed. An instant kill. Below, the green-robed man shook his head. "My principle is that if people don't offend me, I won't offend them. If the heavens don't offend me, I won't offend the heavens. If the heavens offend me, then I'll destroy the heavens." Destroy the heavens? Everyone was looking at the green-robed man. Such a light sentence. Yet it caused everyone present to tremble in fear. Especially the experts from the Undying Emperor clan. This man had almost annihilated the Undying Emperor clan. At this moment, the Undying Emperor clansmen finally understood one thing. That is, even the Cosmos God Court was powerless in front of this green-robed male. Moreover, this man was just a clone. All those years ago, the Undying Emperor clan had offended this man. Weren't they tired of living? Meanwhile, the woman in linen clothes spoke abruptly. Sir, we're not targeting him for no reason. He's a sinner with a calamity body, and every day he lives is going against the order of the universe. This world needs order, right? The green-robed man smiled. Are you going to reason with me now? The woman spoke softly. Are you willing to? The green-robed man shook his head and smiled. If my son is really a heinous person, you don't need to do anything. I will end him myself. However, from the time he was born until now, what had he done wrong? He doesn't seem to have done anything. But all of you almost killed him as soon as he was born. Do you think that's right? The woman spoke in a low voice. He has a calamity body. The green-robed man smiled. Does a calamity body deserve to die? As he spoke, he placed his thumb on the hilt of his sword. The woman in linen clothes looked at the green-robed man without any fear in her eyes. Just as she was about to speak, Mu Xiaodao, who had escaped earlier, returned. Mu Xiaodao hurriedly stopped the woman in linen clothes. She looked at the green-robed man and smiled. Boss, can I say something? The green-robed man smiled. Of course you can. Mu Xiaodao said seriously. A calamity body doesn't deserve to die, just like a sword. A sword is a killing weapon, but there's no good or bad sword. A good person can do good with a sword, but a bad person can do evil with a sword. So it doesn't mean that a calamity body deserves to die. As she spoke, she pointed at Yi Xian in the distance. I think your son is a good person. Although he has a calamity body, he's loyal, kind and honest. So what if he has a calamity body? Many people who don't have a calamity body are still heinous. So, whether someone is bad or not doesn't depend on their physique. As for order wasn't something that couldn't be changed, it could be changed. The law is nothing more than human feelings. Yi Xian was speechless. Everyone. The green-robed man looked at Mu Xiaodao and shook his head with a smile. Little girl, your words. I'm embarrassed to kill someone. Chapter 1576. Needless to say, the expressions of everyone here were quite strange. Is Mu Xiaodao really from the Cosmos Court? As for the experts of the Cosmos Court, they were looking at Mu Xiaodao as well, because they'd been shocked by what she'd said. Is that something a guardian of the universe would say? A sinner isn't guilty? Isn't that overturning the order of the universe? She's going to be incinerated. On the other hand, Yi Xian's face darkened. He was naturally aware of her little tricks. Actually, he admired her a little as well. She really knew how to be strong and cowardly at the same time. Yi Xian glanced at the green-clothed man, but didn't speak. He knew that the green-clothed man was definitely aware of Mu Xiaodao's tricks. Everyone was looking at the green-clothed man, and it was up to the green-clothed man to decide whether to kill Mu Xiaodao or not. The green-clothed man suddenly gazed at Yi Xian and smiled. What do you think? Yi Xian fell silent. He knew what the green-clothed man meant. Actually, it was up to Yi Xian to decide whether to kill him or not. Everyone was looking at Yi Xian. Yi Xian glanced at the surroundings. There were countless corpses and blood all around him, and most of them belonged to the Undying Emperor clan. Yi Xian's face was emotionless. Kill. Kill. Mu Xiaodao's expression instantly changed drastically when she heard Yi Xian, and she hurriedly said, Everyone retreat immediately. As soon as she finished speaking, the experts of the Cosmos Court retreated. The green-clothed man gazed at Yi Xian and smiled. I can kill you, but you'll have to pay the price. As soon as he finished speaking, he opened his palm and a sword suddenly flew out. A moment later, heads started falling incessantly from the sky. These experts of the Cosmos Court were extremely strong, but they were being slaughtered like lambs at this moment. No one could stop that ray of light. The ray of sword light suddenly appeared in front of Mu Xiaodao. Mu Xiaodao's pupils suddenly constricted. She was about to attack, but the ray of sword light stopped. Then, the ray of sword light slashed towards the right, and a dozen heads flew out. Mu Xiaodao took Ma Yi and disappeared into the starry sky. The green-robed man looked at Yi Xian in the distance, and said with a smile, "This girl is smart. You can deal with her yourself in the future." As he spoke, he opened his palm, and the wisp of sword light returned to his hand. At this moment, countless heads slowly fell from the starry sky, and blood poured down like a torrential rain. It was extremely bloody. Yi Xian looked to the other side. The soldiers of the great Qing dynasty were still alive. There were 60 to 70,000 of them. The green-robed man did not kill them. These people were too weak for him. However, at this moment, these soldiers from the great Qing dynasty had already been surrounded by experts from the undead emperor clan. The one leading them was none other than Marshal Mu Tian. Mu Tian looked at Yi Xian. "Young Master Yi, we've lost." Yi Xian nodded. "Then die." With that, he gently waved his right hand, and all the experts swarmed forward. Mu Tian glared at Yi Xian. "We are willing to surrender." Yi Xian shook his head. "There's no need." Mu Tian slowly closed his eyes. After a while, Mu Tian turned to look at the soldiers. At this moment, all the soldiers were looking at him. Marshal Mu Tian said softly, "You are not wrong. The one who is wrong is the emperor. The one who is wrong is me. The one who is wrong is us being too weak." As he spoke, he suddenly pulled out the sword at his waist and roared, "Men of the great Qing dynasty, although we were not born on the same day, we can die on the same day. Kill." With that, he charged towards the experts from the undead emperor clan. "Kill." Behind him, countless soldiers of the great Qing dynasty roared in unison. Very soon, heads started falling from the sky. Naturally, they were the soldiers of the great Qing dynasty. Without the help of the peak experts from the Cosmos God Court, they were no match for the undead emperor clan. The difference in battle power was too great. Moreover, the undead emperor clan had the absolute advantage in numbers. Massacre. It was a massacre. Very soon, the 60 to 70,000 soldiers all fell to the ground. Mu Tian was also at the very front. Mu Tian looked into the distance with a dazed expression. The reason why he had come here was to bring these soldiers back. However, he did not expect that all of them would die here. Blame the Cosmos God Court? He had no right to blame the Cosmos God Court. The great Qing dynasty owed the Cosmos God Court back then. Now they were just paying back the debt. Weakness was the original sin. Whoever was weak would die. If the undead emperor clan was weak today, then the entire undead emperor clan would be massacred. At this moment, Dong Lijian suddenly said, "Bury Mu Tian's corpse." Although they were enemies, these soldiers of the great Qing dynasty were very courageous. They were worthy of the respect of the undead emperor clan. Very soon, someone brought Mu Tian's corpse away. At this moment, the experts from the undead emperor clan looked at the green-clothed man in the distance. When they looked at the green-clothed man, some of the experts from the undead emperor clan had a trace of fear in their eyes. This green-clothed man's strength was too terrifying. At this moment, the green-clothed man suddenly raised his head and looked at the mysterious woman. The mysterious woman lowered her head slightly and did not speak. The green-clothed man smiled. "Do you hate me?" She shook her head. The green-clothed man spoke softly. "I'm sorry." Tears suddenly flowed from the mysterious woman's eyes. The green-clothed man walked over to the mysterious woman, grabbed her hand and spoke softly. "Nan Dongli Nan." That was the mysterious woman's name. Dongli Nan gazed at the green-clothed man. "I don't blame you." The green-clothed man laughed bitterly. "I never expected that woman to not tell you the truth and cause you to misunderstand." When he spoke up to this point, his head ached as well. That woman really did things her own way. Especially in the past, she wanted to stab anyone she saw to death. The mysterious woman shook her head. "I don't hate her at all." In the past, she had naturally hated that woman. But now she didn't hate her at all. On the contrary, she was very grateful to her. Because if it wasn't for her, then Yi Xian would have died countless times over. The green-clothed man smiled. "Go look for me?" The mysterious woman turned around to look at Yi Xian. She hesitated for a moment before she spoke softly. "I want to accompany him." The green-clothed man thought for a moment and nodded. "All right." As he spoke, he looked at Yi Xian who was nearby. Shall the three of us take a walk? Yi Xian nodded. At this moment, the horned little girl followed them. She took out a candied hawthorn and licked it. She stomped her right foot lightly, and she seemed to be quite frivolous. The little white fellow flew onto the green-clothed man's shoulder. Just like that, the family walked off into the distance. The green-clothed man suddenly smiled. Do you hate me? Yi Xian said with a smile. I can't defeat you. The green-clothed man laughed. In that case, if you can beat me, then you're going to beat me up? Yi Xian shrugged and didn't speak. The green-clothed man patted Yi Xian's shoulder lightly and said softly, I was much more miserable than you were back then. Yi Xian glanced at the green-clothed man. How miserable? The green-clothed man smiled. It's all in the past. As he spoke, he glanced at Dong Linen who was beside him. Don't hate your mother. If you want to blame someone, blame that woman. Yi Xian asked, Qing'er. The green-clothed man nodded. That woman. It's really hard to explain. If she had explained it back then, everything would have been fine. Everyone says that I'm crazy. I feel that she's the crazy one. Moreover, she's an abnormal crazy one. Dong Linen shook his head. There's nothing else. The green-clothed man shook his head. Let's not talk about her. As he spoke, he looked at Yi Xian. Are you curious why she and I didn't go directly to the Cosmos God Court? Yi Xian hesitated for a moment and said, To train me? The green-clothed man smiled. That must be the reason. Another important reason is that the law of the universe isn't in the Cosmos God Court. She and I went our separate ways. She was searching for the law of the universe, while I was searching for the mysterious person in your body. To solve the problem of your body, the first is to solve the law of the universe. The second is to find out the origin of the mysterious person in your body and kill him from the root. In other words, we have to cut off his past life, present life and future life. This way, he can completely cut off his connection with you. Yi Xian said in a deep voice. Do you have any clues? The green-clothed man shook his head. Not yet. However, I'm checking one by one. I won't let any of the top experts go. Whether they are in the legends or still alive, I won't let any of them go. Yi Xian hesitated for a moment and said, Did you meet anyone you can't beat? The green-clothed man smiled. I don't think so. Yi Xian, the green-clothed man continued. The law of the universe is quite troublesome. The problem is that they are too good at hiding. Even if she and I work together, we can't find where they are hiding. However, they are everywhere. It's very strange. There is a way to find them, and that is to destroy the universe. The universe is where they depend on. If the universe is destroyed, they will definitely appear. However, this is too heartless. Although I'm not a good person, I really can't do such an inhumane thing. However, at this point he looked at Yi Xian. She almost did that back then. But fortunately, because of you, this universe is a little more pleasing to her eyes. Otherwise, she would have gone crazy and massacred the universe. Yi Xian, Dong Linen said softly. She probably loves me and my dog. The green-clothed man nodded and looked at Yi Xian. There is only one reason why she and I didn't take action in the Cosmos God Court. That is, we hoped that you could solve it yourself. However, just now, you made me take action. Since I helped you solve the problem in front of you, you have to pay the price. Are you ready? Yi Xian hurriedly said. Isn't it natural for a father to help his son? The green-clothed man smiled. You are right, but I am still a little unhappy. Back then I was so miserable. Why did you live so comfortably? Let me tell you, this is the last time we help you. In the future, don't expect me or my old friends to help you. As the price for helping you this time, I have decided to seal all your cultivation and bloodline. As his voice fell, he slapped Yi Xian's shoulder, and a wisp of sword qi directly entered Yi Xian's body. Boom! In an instant, Yi Xian's cultivation was directly suppressed, and the two bloodlines instantly became silent. Yi Xian rolled his eyes. F***ck me. Can I change my father? After saying that, he directly fainted. P.S. The most handsome man in the world. Who else but me can do it? Chapter 1577. After Yi Xian fainted, Dong Linan hurriedly held him. Dong Linan's eyes were filled with tenderness as she looked at Yi Xian in her arms. All these years, she had owed Yi Xian too much. Especially towards the end, she had almost caused Yi Xian's death. The azure-robed man suddenly looked at Tu and Nian Nian in the distance. His gaze fell on Nian Nian, and he smiled. "Miss, your swordsmanship has reached the peak of the mortal realm. Do you wish to improve?" Nian Nian nodded. "Please enlighten me." The azure-robed man opened his palm. An array of white light suddenly entered between Mu Niannian's eyebrows. In the next moment, a map appeared in Mu Niannian's mind. The azure-robed man said, "Miss, you can go there." Mu Niannian looked at Yi Xian. The azure-robed man smiled. His path should be taken by himself. Mu Niannian was silent. The azure-robed man continued. There are many things that he must face by himself. Outsiders' help is not a good thing for him. Moreover, if you continue to help him, you will inevitably be targeted by the universal laws. With your current strength, you cannot contend against the universal laws. Mu Niannian looked at Yi Xian again, and she nodded slightly. "I understand." Saying that, she looked at Tu. Together? Tu looked at Yi Xian below, and was silent. The azure-robed man smiled. "Let him walk the rest of the path by himself." Tu said softly. "You want his swordsmanship to improve?" The azure-robed man nodded. "Not only that, there is an opportunity over there that I hope he can obtain. Of course, whether he can obtain it or not will depend on himself. I will not force him." Tu looked at Yi Xian for a long time, and then turned to Mu Niannian. "Let's go." Mu Niannian nodded, and soon, the two women turned into a ray of sword light and disappeared into the starry sky. After the two women left, the azure-robed man turned to the undying imperial clan's patriarch, Dong Lijing. Dong Lijing looked at the azure-robed man and did not speak. The green-robed man suddenly laughed and said, "As a person, I repay kindness with kindness and take revenge with enmity." As he spoke, he opened his palm, and 3 sword rays suddenly flew toward Higashi Yasushi. Higashi Yasushi glanced at the 3 sword rays. "What are these?" the green-clothed man said. "Back then, I killed the final trump card of the undying imperial clan. Now I will give you all a trump card." After a moment of silence, Higashi Yasushi shook his head. "No need." The green-clothed man was slightly startled. Dong Lijing continued. "This is a trump card, but it will also make the people of our undying imperial clan feel reliant on it. I do not wish for my clansmen to become reliant on me. In the future, my undying imperial clan will not have an ancestor, and will not have an extremely powerful trump card. If we're talking about trump cards, then the undead clan is our trump card." On the battlefield, countless experts from the Undying Emperor clan suddenly roared in unison. The Undying Emperor clan is invincible. At this moment, all of the Undying Imperial clan members were roaring angrily. The Undying Emperor clan did not need the protection of others. Higashi-Kei looked at the green-robed man and said, "Thank you for your kindness." The green-robed man nodded slightly. "All right." As he spoke, he waved his right hand lightly, and the 3 strands of sword chi disappeared. By the side, Dong Linan sighed in his heart. She knew that the Undying Imperial clan could accept Yi Xian. However, towards the green-robed man, it could not be said that they hated him. It could only be said that the Undying Imperial clan could not accept his protection. Pride. Although the Undying Imperial clan could not compare to the Cosmos God Court, and even less compared to the green-robed man, this clan still had their own pride. The green-robed man looked at Yi Xian in front of him. He opened his palm, and the ancient shield in front of Yi Xian instantly flew into his hand. This chapter is not finished. Please continue to the next page. Then, he passed the ancient shield to Little White. Little White blinked, then pointed at the unconscious Yi Xian. The green-robed man shook his head. "He doesn't need it." The little white fellow hesitated for a moment, then kept the ancient shield. The green-robed man looked at Yi Xian. He pointed his finger in front of him, and the space there directly split apart. The green-robed man laughed. "Nanner, I'm going to send him away." Dong Linan hurriedly asked, "To where?" The green-robed man smiled. "To a very, very far place." There he will no longer have any helpers. If he wants to survive, he can only rely on himself. Dong Linen frowned. He doesn't have any trump cards at all. The green-robed man laughed lightly. What trump cards does he need? He is going there to grow, not to act cool. Just as Dong Linen was about to speak, the green-robed man said seriously, he has to become stronger. There are many things that he can only rely on himself in the future. Dong Linen asked, mysterious person? The green-robed man nodded. While I was searching, I discovered some strange things. I can only say that the other party is not simple. And now he is too weak. Dong Linen went silent for a moment, then nodded. All right. The green-robed man looked at Yi Xian. He pointed with his finger. An array of sword light dragged Yi Xian directly into the pitch-black spatial crack. In an instant, that ray of sword light tore through countless star fields with Yi Xian. On the battlefield, Dong Linen wanted to say something but stopped. The green-robed man looked at Dong Linen. If he follows you with your protection, he will become more and more useless. Let him go and temper himself. Dong Linen said solemnly, the laws of the universe. The green-robed man laughed. They don't dare to show themselves. Dong Linen said again, the Cosmos God Court. The green-robed man laughed. He will deal with it himself. Dong Linen shook his head. He is too young. The green-robed man laughed. If he is always protected, he will never truly grow. He has to walk his own path step by step. And now, there is not much time left for him. Tian Ming, and I cannot protect him forever. Moreover, if he stays in the Undying Emperor clan, he will bring a true calamity upon you. Dong Linen looked at the green-robed man. What rank does the Undying Emperor clan belong in this universe? The green-robed man shook his head. Nothing. Hearing this, Dong Linen slowly clenched his fists. The green-robed man laughed. Nanner, see you in the future. As he spoke, he, the little girl, and the little white fellow gradually became illusory. Dong Linen looked at the green-robed man. Live well. The green-robed man laughed. Don't worry. The one who will kill me has not been born yet. As soon as he finished speaking, he disappeared. The little white fellow and the little girl also disappeared along with him. Dong Linen looked into the depths of the starry sky, her gaze gradually becoming infatuated. At this moment, Dong Linen suddenly said, Third sister, what are your plans? Dong Linen said softly, I want to stay in the Undying Emperor clan and cultivate. Dong Linen nodded. That is exactly what I wanted. As she spoke, she looked into the depths of the starry sky. I wonder where that little fellow was teleported to. Dong Linen looked into the depths of the starry sky, her eyes filled with worry. Xianer is so kind and honest. I wonder how much he will suffer if he goes to an unfamiliar environment. At the side, Dong Linen kept shaking his head. Honest. She really couldn't tell. This chapter is not finished. Please continue to the next page. Since when has Yi Xian been honest? This fellow is the most dishonest. After a while, the Undying Emperor clan started to clean up the battlefield. In this battle, although the Undying Emperor clan had sacrificed many people, they had also gained a lot. This time, the surviving experts of the Undying Emperor clan would become even stronger. Other than that, the Undying Emperor clan had also obtained many spoils of war, especially the treasures left behind by the Cosmos God Court. On the other side, somewhere in the starry sky suddenly tore apart. The next moment, two women walked out. It was Mu Xiaodao and the hemp-clothed woman. Out of all the experts of the Cosmos God Court, only the two of them had escaped. And this was because the green-robed man had shown mercy. After coming out, the hemp-clothed woman's expression was extremely ugly, while Mu Xiaodao heaved a sigh of relief. The hemp-clothed woman suddenly looked at Mu Xiaodao. Are you that afraid of death? In order to live, you actually lowered your head to the evil forces. Mu Xiaodao shook his head. You really are a blockhead. The hemp-clothed woman stared angrily at Mu Xiaodao. Am I not? Mu Xiaodao suddenly raged. Am I your mother? Can you not be so stupid? Did you not see how strong that man is? He is only a clone, yet he could instantly kill the seventh sword. Are you going to fight him? Fight your mother. You idiot. Can't you just stop thinking about cultivation and watch more palace fights in the secular world? This old lady is going to die from anger. The hemp-clothed woman raged. Just because you can't win, you surrender? Mu Xiaodao sighed softly. Do you know how many of us have died this time? Big sister, do you know? Their deaths are really meaningless. All of them died for nothing, including you. You have the guts to fight him head-on. But is there any meaning? Besides sending yourself to death, there is no meaning at all. As she said this, she looked at the hemp-clothed woman with disappointment. The other party has already cheated. You still foolishly went to fight him. You are really a retard. The hemp-clothed woman's expression was extremely gloomy. Mu Xiaodao added, Don't be angry. That man's strength is obviously not at our level. Isn't it normal to lose to such a person? The hemp-clothed woman looked at Mu Xiaodao. You are quite open-minded. Mu Xiaodao said calmly. The moment that man appeared, we should have retreated. Unfortunately, everyone still had to fight him. If we had retreated from the start, perhaps many of us could have survived. The hemp-clothed woman looked at Mu Xiaodao. You should not question the laws of the universe. Mu Xiaodao chuckled. Do sinners with disaster bodies really deserve to die? The hemp-clothed woman stared at Mu Xiaodao. You are questioning the laws of the universe again. Mu Xiaodao chuckled. Mai, we are the guardians of the universe, but we are not tools, nor are we slaves. Faith is fine, but blind faith cannot be. As she said this, she turned to look at the star field behind her, softly said, This time, many people have died. The hemp-clothed woman said angrily, Why did he become a disaster body? Because his father and sister killed too many people and went against the laws and order of the universe. Now that order has collapsed, whose fault is it? It is their family's fault. As long as he is alive, order cannot be restored. Do you understand? Mu Xiaodao nodded. I understand. The hemp-clothed woman glared at Mu Xiaodao. Then you still question the laws of the universe, and for them. Mu Xiaodao suddenly said. We can't beat them. The hemp-clothed woman was stunned. Mu Xiaodao looked at the hemp-clothed. I am not going to reason with you. Let's talk about something practical. We can't beat them now, do you understand? The hemp-clothed woman was silent. End of this chapter. Chapter 1578. I can't beat him. This is the core of the problem. Mu Xiaodao suddenly said, Go back. With that she turned and left. Mai looked at Mu Xiaodao. Go back to the Cosmos God Court? Mu Xiaodao said. Go back and wait for that Sky King Palace fella. See what she is going to do. Also, don't meddle in these things without the orders of the laws of the universe. Your brain is too simple. You will be easily betrayed. As she spoke, she had already disappeared. Mai was silent for a long time before turning and leaving. Somewhere in the depths of the starry sky, there was a huge hall. Sky King Palace. This was the first hall under the Cosmos God Court. The palace was several hundred zhang tall, standing tall in the starry sky like a huge beast, instilling fear in the hearts of those who looked at it. There were tens of thousands of bluestone steps in front of the hall. At this moment, a woman was walking slowly on the stone steps. The woman was wearing a loose white dress. Her cloud-like hair was draped over her back. It was very long, reaching her hips. The woman was very beautiful, beautiful enough to make the entire starry sky pale in comparison. This woman was the famous war king Wu Ku of the Cosmos God Court. The woman walked slowly and soon she came to the entrance of the hall and pushed it open. The hall was empty, not a single person was inside. The woman came to a statue. If Yi Xian was here, he would be shocked. This was because the statue looked exactly like him. The woman looked at the statue and after a long time, she took out a small wooden statue. The statue looked like a little girl and looked very similar to her. Obviously, this was when she was young. The woman was silent for a long time before closing her eyes. Is it you? At this moment, a hunchback old man appeared outside the hall and said hoarsely, King Wu, I have found out. The woman looked at the small wooden statue in her hand. Speak. The hunchback old man spoke slowly. It was all about Yi Xian. The hunchback old man spoke for a full hour, and even the smallest things were explained in detail. After the hunchback old man finished, the woman squinted her eyes. He knows how to carve? The hunchback old man nodded. Yes. As he spoke, he hesitated for a moment before he said, Is it the person young miss is looking for? The woman slowly closed her eyes. It should be. The hunchbacked old man lowered his head slightly. Miss, he is a sinner with a body of disaster. The woman opened her eyes and said expressionlessly, The reason why I joined the Cosmos God Court was because I wanted to use the resources of the Cosmos God Court to find him. Otherwise, what qualifications does the Cosmos God Court have for me to join? The hunchbacked old man said nothing. The woman suddenly asked, Where is he now? The hunchbacked old man said, He should be in the demon domain. The woman said, I'll go see him. As she finished speaking, she turned around and left. When she reached the entrance of the great hall, she suddenly stopped. Is there any movement from the heavenly court? The hunchbacked old man shook his head. Not yet. However, I've learned that the contenders from the void zone are already on their way back. They might have received orders from the divine court. The woman asked again, What about the laws of the universe? The hunchbacked old man shook his head again. There's no news at all. The woman nodded slightly and disappeared. In the hall, the hunchbacked old man sighed softly. Yi Xian slowly opened his eyes. The moment he opened his eyes, he felt a splitting headache. Yi Xian hurriedly sat up. He held his head with both hands and shook it for a long time. When his head was no longer so dizzy, he scanned his surroundings. This time he was stunned. At this moment, he was in a dilapidated straw hut. His hands and legs were tied with heavy metal chains. What happened to him? Yi Xian scanned his surroundings. Around him, there were still some corpses. They were all human corpses. Yi Xian suddenly lifted his head and looked into the distance. There was a huge stone house there. A group of people was sitting in front of the stone house. These people looked 90% similar to humans. The only difference was that these people had purple eyes. Demon domain. The first thing that came to Yi Xian's mind was the demon domain. This was because he had read some ancient texts in the Undying Emperor tribe. The demon domain was inhabited by demons. These people were exactly the same as the demons described in the ancient texts. Why did that man send him to the demon domain? Could it be that he wanted him to unify the demon domain? This was a little unrealistic. Yi Xian collected his thoughts. He looked at the metal chains on his hands. Very quickly, he discovered that his cultivation had been sealed. Within his body, he could not circulate a single bit of Xian energy. Not only that, even his 2 bloodlines had been sealed. Most importantly, Xiao Ta and the World Prism Pagoda had also been sealed. Other than his fleshly body, there was nothing else. Very clearly, the green-robed man did not go all out. If his fleshly body was destroyed, then he would really be done for. At this moment, a demon suddenly walked over with a hammer. When he saw Yi Xian, this demon suddenly shouted angrily, Lowly human, you dare to look at me directly. As he spoke, he directly swung his hammer towards Yi Xian's head. Yi Xian suddenly leaped up and directly kneed that demon's chin. Boom! That demon's head directly exploded and blood splattered everywhere. Yi Xian fiercely spat to the side and angrily scolded. Motherfucker! I am a dignified son of the 9th dimension universe. How can I let you guys bully me? As he spoke, he suddenly exerted strength in his hands, and the chains on his body directly exploded. At this moment, those demons in the distance all rushed towards Yi Xian. However, he was stopped by an older devil cultivator. That old demon stared fixedly at Yi Xian. Human, you dare to kill demons. You will receive the world's most cruel torture. Yi Xian rushed up and slapped him. Pa! That old demon was directly slapped out of the 100 Clans territory. When he smashed onto the ground, his body twitched for a moment, and then no longer moved. The remaining devil dwellers were all stunned. Yi Xian glanced at those remaining demons, and they immediately turned and ran. Yi Xian directly rushed out and very quickly, those dozen or so demons were killed by him. Yi Xian looked around. This place was somewhat remote, like a small tribe. After a moment, Yi Xian walked towards a stone city in the distance. On the way, Yi Xian analyzed this devil domain. From the attitude of those few demons towards him, this human's position in this devil domain was clearly very low, just that he did not know to what extent. After walking for a while, Yi Xian tried to use his sword, but he was unable to use Xian Qi. More accurately, he had no Xian Qi to use. He was now a body cultivator. Other than his fleshly body, there was no other power he could use. As if he thought of something, Yi Xian suddenly slapped his forehead. Damn it! I actually forgot about the little girl's blood. When he was in the Immortal Emperor clan, he did not devour the little girl's blood, because he wanted his fleshly body to reach the God realm. Then used the little girl's blood to reach the eternal realm. However, before he could reach the God realm, the Cosmos God Court came. Therefore, his fleshly body was currently only at the consolidation realm. Yi Xian was filled with regret. Now that Xiaotao was sealed, he could not obtain the little girl's blood at all. If he wanted to improve his fleshly body again, it could be said to be extremely difficult. He had to think of a way to return. No. Yi Xian seemed to have thought of something and suddenly stopped. In the 9 dimensions, he had asked the patriarch Dongli Jing, and at that time, Dongli Jing had said that even if it was him, to reach the devil domain, he would need at least 1,000,000 years. 1,000,000 years? What kind of concept was that? Moreover, his current cultivation was sealed. Even if he wanted to use sword flight, he could not. From here, even 300 years would not be enough. F***ck. Yi Xian suddenly could not help but curse. They couldn't go back at all. At this time, Yi Xian suddenly stopped because he had arrived in front of the ancient city. Looking up, Yi Xian saw 3 large words above the city gate, Mengju City. Just as Yi Xian was about to enter, he suddenly turned around and looked. Not far away, a group of demonic people riding creatures that looked like wolf demons slowly walked over. This group of demonic people wore armor, and it was obvious that they were soldiers. And behind this group of soldiers, there were several iron cages. Within the iron cages, there were all humans, men and women, about 30 people. Seeing this scene, Yi Xian frowned. Were the humans in this place so bad? At this time, the group of demonic people also saw Yi Xian. When they saw Yi Xian, the demonic people were slightly stunned. There was actually a human here? What's more, he was standing here so openly. The people within the iron cages were looking at Yi Xian as well. Some of their eyes were filled with curiosity, and some were filled with ridicule. Suddenly, the demonic person in the lead rode a demon beast over to Yi Xian, and he looked down at Yi Xian. Kneel. Kneel. Yi Xian was instantly infuriated when he heard that. Yi Xian didn't say a word and directly kicked the demonic person. Before the demonic person could even react, his head was kicked away by Yi Xian. All the demonic people and humans were stunned. Suddenly, one of the demonic people recovered from his shock, and he pointed angrily at Yi Xian. You lowly human, you. Yi Xian suddenly picked up a rock from the ground and smashed it. Bang! The demonic person was directly smashed by the rock, and his head instantly exploded. However, Yi Xian didn't stop. He leaped up and charged towards the group of demonic people. His speed was extremely swift, and he was like a hungry tiger pouncing on its prey. He pounced towards one of the demonic people, and smashed his fist towards the demonic person's throat. Crack! The demonic person's throat was pierced through, and blood sprayed everywhere. Meanwhile, Yi Xian suddenly vanished on the spot. In next to no time, all the demonic people were lying on the ground, and they died horrible deaths. Because Yi Xian had used his fists. His fists weren't as handsome as his sword, but they were extremely violent. Yi Xian walked over to the iron cages, and he just smashed a few of his fists with his fists, causing the iron chains to be broken. Yi Xian gazed at the humans before him. All of you are free. As soon as he finished speaking, he turned around and left. As if he'd thought of something, he said, all of you can follow me. He felt that he should save them to the end, because their strengths were very low. So, if he didn't save them to the end, then they would definitely be killed. Because if he killed these demonic people, then the other demonic people would definitely not let them off. So, he had to be responsible to the end. At this moment, a human fatty suddenly rushed in front of Yi Xian, and pointed angrily at Yi Xian. Who needs your help? Yi Xian was somewhat dumbfounded. The fatty looked at Yi Xian with hatred, and roared angrily. When they brought us, they would at most torture us. and then make us their slaves. But now that you've saved us, they'll kill us. It's all your fault, you idiot, you. Yi Xian suddenly slapped the fatty's face. Pa! The fatty directly fell to the ground. He didn't die, but his face was disfigured. Then, under everyone's gaze, Yi Xian dragged the fatty to the front of an iron cage. He threw the fatty into the iron cage, and then locked the iron chains. Yi Xian looked at the fatty. I'm sorry. I didn't know you liked to be a slave. It's my fault. I shouldn't have saved you. As soon as he finished speaking, he stood up and left. At this moment, a human girl suddenly said in a trembling voice, You, who are you? Who am I? Yi Xian blinked and said, Have you heard of the Cosmos God Court? The little girl shook her head. Yi Xian said seriously, I'm the founder of the Universe God Court. God Yi. Do you know the laws of the universe? The little girl shook her head. Yi Xian said seriously, There are a total of 9 universal laws. I created them to protect the universe. However, after they became stronger, they joined hands to kill me. I'm reincarnating right now. Do you understand? The little girl. P.S. There's a problem that's been bothering me for a long time. It's that I'm too handsome. Being handsome was really a problem. A lot of girls pounced on me when they saw me. I'm really annoyed. I can't take it anymore. Almighty readers, may I ask how to solve this problem? Chapter 1579. Mengju City. Yi Xian led the 30-plus people into Mengju City. The 30-plus people were panicking and could only follow Yi Xian. In the devil domain, humans were slaves and could only be enslaved by the devils. But now, this person in front of them had killed the devils. Those devils would definitely not let them off. If they followed Yi Xian, they might be able to survive. When they walked into Mengju City, Yi Xian's group attracted the attention of all the devils. Humans? All the demons stared at Yi Xian, who was the leader. Yi Xian suddenly glanced at the surrounding devils and cursed. What are you looking at? If you're not satisfied, then come and fight me. All the devils were stunned. F***ck. So arrogant. At this moment, one of the devils suddenly charged in front of Yi Xian. He was about to speak when Yi Xian suddenly charged forward and punched him in the head. Bang! That devil's head exploded and blood splattered everywhere. All the demonic humans were stunned. As for the humans behind Yi Xian, they were also stunned. This human was so strong. Yi Xian continued forward. He would not be reasonable or merciful in this place. The status of humans in this place was very low. To reason with the devils? The other party would not listen at all. Fists were the most direct. At this moment, more and more devils surrounded Yi Xian's group. When these devils looked at Yi Xian's group, their eyes were filled with killing intent. At this moment, a group of soldiers suddenly charged from afar. There were hundreds of them. The leader was a middle-aged man holding a large machete. When he arrived in front of Yi Xian's group, the middle-aged man stared at Yi Xian and was about to speak when Yi Xian slapped his face. Pa! Before anyone could react, the middle-aged man fell to the ground. However, he did not die. Obviously, Yi Xian had shown mercy. Yi Xian directly stepped on the middle-aged man's chest. Come, tell me where this place is. The middle-aged man glared at Yi Xian, his eyes filled with hatred. Lowly human. Yi Xian suddenly kicked him hard. Boom. The middle-aged man was directly crushed by this stomp. The devils in the surroundings were instantly terrified. This middle-aged man was the strongest warrior in their city. But he was killed just like that? Yi Xian led the remaining people into the city. Along the way, no devil dwellers dared to make a move. In next to no time, Yi Xian arrived at the city governor's estate with over 30 people. At this moment, there were already hundreds of devil dweller soldiers gathered in front of the estate. The leader was a rather fat devil cultivator. Obviously, this was the city lord. The fat city lord looked at Yi Xian. Who is it? Yi Xian suddenly disappeared, and in the next moment, the fat city lord's throat was grabbed by a hand. It was Yi Xian's hand. Seeing that the city lord was subdued in one move, all the devil dwellers were stunned. Yi Xian looked at the fat city lord. Order all the humans in the city to be released. Also, I want to know what kind of place Dao Yi is. The fat city lord quickly nodded and said with a trembling voice, Quickly release all the slaves. Yi Xian brought the fat city lord into the city governor's estate. In the courtyard, Yi Xian sat on a stone bench. In front of him was the fat city lord. At this moment, the fat city lord was introducing this world to Yi Xian. After a long time, Yi Xian had a general understanding of this devil domain. This devil domain was divided into 4 realms, namely the upper realm, devil realm, yuan realm, and the boundary realm. The 4 realms each had their own governance. It was worth mentioning that although the 4 realms each had their own governance, they all believed in the great devil lord. A very, very long time ago, the entire infernal realm was actually unified. At that time, the strongest person in the infernal realm, the demon lord, was the master of the entire infernal realm. However, the demon lord disappeared for some unknown reason, so the infernal realm was divided into 4. Even so, the devil dwellers of the 4 realms still believed in the great devil lord. Right now he was in the devil domain. Of course, his current location was very remote. Yi Xian was silent. If he wanted to go back, he had to go to Demon City, because there was a high possibility that there was a star field transmission array there. Of course, it was only a possibility, he was not sure. In fact, he was a little puzzled now. He wondered why the man in green sent him here. Was it really just to train him? Or was he here to save humanity? He had to say that the status of humans in this place was really low. No, they had no status at all. The humans here were born to be slaves, and had no status at all. Their lives were too miserable. Yi Xian shook his head. Fortunately, this devil domain was far from the 9th dimension. Otherwise, the 2 sides would not be friendly. Yi Xian stood up and left. He arrived at the entrance of the governor's mansion. At this moment, there were already tens of thousands of humans gathered there. They were all human slaves that were released from the city. At this moment, all the human slaves were looking at Yi Xian. Their eyes were filled with curiosity and confusion. Yi Xian glanced at the human beings there and sighed inwardly. He felt that things were a little troublesome. There was no fighting spirit in the eyes of these humans. The slave imprint had already been deeply ingrained in their minds. How could he save them? Yi Xian felt a headache coming on. Was he going to declare war on the entire devil domain, just because of Dao Yi? He was very clear that he did not have that much power. The devil domain was definitely not any weaker than the immortal emperor clan in the 9th dimension. Wanting to fight against the entire infernal domain with one's strength alone, this was something impossible. But would these people in front of him give up just like that? He was very clear that he had killed the devil dwellers. If he left, the humans here would be miserable. Thinking of this, Yi Xian sighed and said, Do you have anything you want to say? Below no one spoke. Yi Xian hesitated and said, Do you want to be free? At this moment, a man walked out and looked at Yi Xian. Yes. Yi Xian looked at the man and smiled. What's your name? The man looked at Yi Xian. Ling Yan. Yi Xian nodded. From now on, these people are under my control. Ling Yan directly knelt down. Please teach us martial arts. Among the group of humans, many also knelt down. To change their fate, they must learn martial arts. And in the past, humans were not qualified to learn martial arts. Yi Xian nodded. Okay. At this moment, a man suddenly said, We must go to the human domain. Human domain? Yi Xian frowned. Is there such a place? The man quickly nodded. Yes. I heard that there are only humans in the human domain, and there are no devil dwellers. Their humans are not slaves. Yi Xian turned around to look at the fat city governor, and the latter spoke with a trembling voice. The human domain does exist. There is an extremely formidable human protecting it and passing down martial arts. Yi Xian was stunned, and then he said softly, Could it be the ancestor of the Taoist faction? He had heard from Dongli Jing that the ancestor of the Taoist faction had come to the demon domain. When he thought up to this point, he asked, How far is the human domain from here? The fat city governor hesitated for a moment, and then he said, At least a month. However, if you go to Sky Capital City, Then you can reach the human domain at the fastest speed possible, because there is a teleportation formation there. Meanwhile, Ling Yan suddenly spoke angrily. They are trying to kill us. The fat city governor glanced at Ling Yan and remained silent. Yi Xian said, there are even more devil dwellers there, right? Ling Yan nodded and spoke in a low voice. Yes, there are many devil dwellers there. However, there is indeed a teleportation formation there. Yi Xian nodded, and then he gazed at the fat city governor. Summon all the tamed demon beasts in the city. The fat city governor didn't dare refuse, and he immediately sent a soldier over. It didn't take long for all the tamed demon beasts to be summoned over. Yi Xian gazed at the humans before him. Everyone, get on your horses and head to Sky Capital City. Ling Yan hesitated for a moment, and then he said, over there. Yi Xian smiled, it's fine. When he saw how confident Yi Xian was, Ling Yan didn't hesitate any longer, and he turned around to look at the humans and roared furiously. Get on all the demon beasts. Head to Sky Capital City. However, no one moved. Ling Yan said furiously, those that don't leave can stay here and wait for death. The humans finally moved when they heard this. In next to no time, Yi Xian led the group out of Mistshire City and headed straight for Sky Capital City. When he saw Yi Xian and the others leave, the fat city governor quickly took out a transmission stone. Outside the city, Ling Yan glanced at Yi Xian who stood by his side, and he hesitated for a moment before he said, we should kill the city governor in the city. Otherwise he'll notify us. Yi Xian smiled. It's fine. Ling Yan nodded lightly and didn't speak another word. All he could do now was trust this human before him, because he had no other choice. Right at this moment, the ground in the distance suddenly trembled, and then a group of cavalries dashed over swiftly from afar. Demonkin cavalries. All the humans here instantly panicked when they saw this group of cavalries. Countless people were terrified to the point they fell off their demon beasts. Ling Yan suddenly roared furiously, calm down. However, those people weren't calm at all. Some of them even started running around while others were terrified to the point their legs had turned to jelly. Right at this moment, a man suddenly pointed at Yi Xian and roared furiously, It's all. We weren't supposed to die. But now, we're going to die. Countless people looked at Yi Xian when they heard this. And then they started to complain about Yi Xian. It's all his fault. If it wasn't for him, we would still be in the city. Although our lives would be tough, we wouldn't have died. It's all his fault. I don't want to die. It's all his fault. He sent us back. We're finished. I shouldn't have come out. Many people looked at Yi Xian with resentment. Yi Xian remained silent. At this moment, he finally understood something. Humans. They could only save themselves. Meanwhile, Ling Yan slashed with his saber, and the man who spoke first was stabbed to death. Ling Yan glanced at the surroundings and said furiously, he saved us. One of the men said furiously, see that? There are over 10,000 Demonkin cavalries. Can he defeat them? He can't defeat them at all. We'll be cut to death by the Demonkin. Another man said furiously, he's not saving us, he's harming us. Ling Yan was about to speak when Yi Xian patted his shoulder. Ling Yan looked at Yi Xian and said, I'm not afraid of death. Yi Xian smiled, I know. As he spoke, he walked to the side with Ling Yan. He looked at the group of humans and smiled. Those who want to live can come behind me. The group of humans looked at Yi Xian, and no one moved. At this moment, the man who was the leader shouted, don't believe him. He can't defeat so many Demonkin. If we beg for mercy, the Demonkin will definitely let us go. Because they need slaves. We have so many slaves. We can help them do many things, they won't kill us. Hearing the man's words, the group of humans were moved. At this moment, a little girl slowly ran in front of Yi Xian. That little girl was the one Yi Xian saved outside the city. The little girl looked up at Yi Xian, hesitated for a moment, then said, I believe you. As she spoke, she paused, then said, Brother God Yi, can I join Cosmo's palace? I want to follow you. Yi Xian was speechless. At this moment, the group of Demonkin cavalry had already arrived in front of them. The man leading the group suddenly led the group of people behind him and ran to the front of the demonkin cavalry. The man hurriedly led the group to kneel down. The man pointed angrily at Yi Xian in the distance. No one knew what he was saying. The other humans also kowtowed and begged for mercy. Chapter 1580. The leader became more and more agitated as he spoke. In the end, it was as if Yi Xian had killed his parents. He wanted to eat Yi Xian's flesh and drink Yi Xian's blood. Seeing this scene, Yi Xian was speechless. He was not angry, because he understood human nature. At the same time, he knew that he had done a very stupid thing. Yi Xian was not a savior. These people did not need his help. It was just like how Qing'er did not save the fifth dimension. Did she really not have the strength? She had it, but she did not want to save them, because she understood human nature. If the people of the fifth dimension did not change, no one could save them. Humans continuously courting death in the vast universe would eventually be punished by the universe. At this moment, a demonic cavalryman in the distance suddenly raised his blade. Chi. The man who spoke was directly cut in half. Blood and internal organs splattered all over the ground. The other humans were dumbfounded. At this moment, the commander of the demonic cavalrymen suddenly said, "Kill." As his voice fell, the group of demonic people directly raised their butcher knives. Soon mournful screams resounded. As for Yi Xian, he calmly watched from the side. He did not have the slightest intention of attacking. Those humans also came to themselves at this moment. Then they ran toward Yi Xian like crazy. Yi Xian still did not attack. They looked at Yi Xian and begged as they ran. "Save." Yi Xian still did not move. Soon, all the humans were killed. The ground was covered in corpses and blood. At this moment, the group of cavalrymen arrived in front of Yi Xian's group. Ling Yan stared at the cavalryman. Although he was a bit panicked, there was no fear in his eyes. The little girl gently pulled on Yi Xian's sleeve. She was very afraid and was about to cry. The leader of the demonic cavalrymen looked at Yi Xian and was about to speak when Yi Xian suddenly leaped up and punched him in the face before he could react. Bang! The Devilman cavalry commander's head directly exploded, blood splattering everywhere. After he instantly annihilated the commander of the cavalrymen, Yi Xian suddenly charged into the midst of the cavalrymen, and it wasn't long before numerous explosions resounded incessantly. Every punch landed on flesh. Before long, the 10,000 cavalrymen had all fallen. Although Yi Xian's cultivation was currently sealed, and he only had the physical body of the consolidation realm, it was still not something that ordinary people could fight against. Seeing how easily Yi Xian slaughtered the cavalry, Ling Yan was dumbfounded. Yi Xian looked at the corpses on the ground before looking at Lin Yan and the little girl. "Let's go." Soon, the three of them continued on their way. This time, it was much quieter. Ling Yan didn't dare to say anything. The little girl glanced at Yi Xian. There were a few times when she wanted to speak, but she held back. On the demonic beast, Yi Xian closed his eyes and pondered. At this moment, he was extremely shocked in his heart because he'd noticed a problem. He'd actually sensed his own sword intent just now. Good and evil sword intent. However, it disappeared very quickly. It might have been suppressed by the sword aura that the green-robed man left in his body. What was good? He saved people. That was good. What was evil? He left people to die. That was evil. However, regardless of whether he saved people or not, he had a clear conscience. Good and evil could be decided by a single thought. Yi Xian opened his eyes, and a smile appeared at the corner of his mouth. In fact, being a good person was extremely tiring. That was because you had to make do with those who had ill intentions towards you. The deep-rooted bad habit of humans was that when facing evil people, they would bend their knees and be extremely obedient. However, when facing good people, they would be extremely evil. Why should good people make do with evil people? Yi Xian would not be a good person. To him, he could save people, but he could also kill them. At that moment, the little girl suddenly said, "Brother Godyi." Yi Xian looked at the little girl and smiled. "What's wrong?" The little girl hesitated for a moment before asking, "Why are you so powerful?" Yi Xian blinked. "Because I cultivate." "Do you want to cultivate?" The little girl nodded vigorously. Yi Xian smiled and placed his right hand between the little girl's brows. Then, he transferred the first to the 9th volume of the Tao scripture into the little girl's mind. However, he placed a restriction on them. For example, she had to finish cultivating the first volume before she could cultivate the second volume. As if he thought of something, he looked at Lin Yan. Lin Yan immediately dismounted and knelt on one knee. I am willing to serve you. Yi Xian shook his head. You don't have to serve me. As he said that, he passed the Tao scripture to Lin Yan. Lin Yan suddenly knelt down and kowtowed. Cultivation method. In the demonic area, there were very few cultivation methods that humans could cultivate. That was because they were all destroyed by the demons. It could be said that an ordinary human's cultivation technique was very, very precious to humans. However, what Yi Xian gave him was not an ordinary cultivation method. Yi Xian helped Lin Yan up. Get up. Don't kneel so easily in the future. Lin Yan shook his head. This is enough to change my fate. Yi Xian smiled. It is fate that brought us to know each other. Lin Yan looked at Yi Xian and nodded slightly. At that moment, the sound of demonic beasts galloping came from behind. Lin Yan's expression changed, and he turned his head to look. Not far away, a group of demonic beast cavalry was charging towards them. These demonic beasts were huge, and they were wearing armor. Their auras were extremely powerful. When they felt the aura of these demonic beasts, the demonic beasts that the three of them were riding on immediately crouched on the ground and trembled. Yi Xian was shocked. The demonic beasts were of a high level. They were all at the Tao attainment realm. The leader of the cavalry had even reached the consolidation realm. Not simple. What was worth mentioning was that the demonic beasts were wearing armor of a very high level. They were at least at the Tao attainment realm. Looking at the armor, Yi Xian thought of the little white guy's ancient shield. Damn, with that ancient shield, wouldn't he be able to do whatever he wanted in this place? Unfortunately, the ancient shield was gone. What a pity. Yi Xian sighed in his heart. He looked into the distance. In the middle of the demonic beast cavalry was a very luxurious carriage. The demonic beast pulling the carriage was at the peak of the consolidation realm. Its aura was extremely powerful. Yi Xian thought to himself, the identity of this group of people is not simple. The group of demonic beast cavalry got closer. However, their target was not Yi Xian's group. Instead, they were heading towards the distant sky capital city. The leader of the demonic beast cavalry kept staring at Yi Xian. Yi Xian did not show any weakness and stared back. What was there to be afraid of? The leader of the demonic beast cavalry did not make a move. Just as the group of cavalry was about to pass Yi Xian, a voice suddenly sounded from the carriage. Stop. As soon as the voice fell, the group of cavalry instantly stopped. Yi Xian looked at the carriage. At this moment, the window of the carriage suddenly opened. Yi Xian saw a woman, a demonic beast female. Other than her eyes, this demonic beast female was no different from a human. The only difference was that her eyes were dark purple. Dark purple. It had to be said that this demonic beast female was very beautiful. Her exquisite facial features were perfect without a single flaw. However, she was too cold. Aloof. The demonic beast female just stared at Yi Xian. Yi Xian also stared back at the demonic beast female. Seeing that Yi Xian and the demonic beast female were looking at each other, a demonic beast cavalry guard suddenly stabbed his spear towards Yi Xian's eyes. However, Yi Xian's speed was faster. At the moment when the guard stabbed his spear, Yi Xian directly punched his throat. Kacha! The sound of bones breaking could be heard. Immediately after, the demonic beast soldier fell to the ground. Killed in one move. Seeing that they had made a move, the surrounding demonic beast cavalry immediately surrounded Yi Xian's group. At this moment, the demonic beast female raised her jade-like hand, and the demonic beast cavalry immediately stopped. The demonic beast female looked at the girl. You are very courageous. Yi Xian smiled and looked at Lin Yan and the little girl. Let's go. Right at this moment, the commander of the demonic beast cavalry suddenly appeared in front of Yi Xian. The demonic beast cavalry leader gazed at Yi Xian. Did I allow you to leave? Right at this moment, the demonic beast cavalry leader suddenly leaped up. The demonic beast cavalry leader's expression instantly changed, and he raised his spear to block. Yi Xian's fist smashed down. Bang! The spear broke into pieces, and Yi Xian's fist smashed onto the helmet of the demonic beast cavalry leader. Bang! The demon beast beneath the demonic beast cavalry leader let out a shrill cry, and then it sank into the ground. On the other hand, the demonic beast cavalry leader collapsed to the ground as well. However, he didn't die because the helmet had absorbed most of the force. The surrounding demonic beast cavalry were stunned. There was a trace of shock in the demonic beast female's eyes as well. Yi Xian suddenly stomped his right foot on the chest of the demonic beast cavalry leader, and he looked down at the demonic beast cavalry leader. The demonic beast cavalry leader stared fixedly at him, and was about to speak when Yi Xian suddenly stomped his right foot down. Bang! The demonic beast cavalry leader's body exploded into pieces, and his internal organs splattered all over the ground. His soul was completely destroyed. Yi Xian clapped his hands, and he glanced at the surrounding demonic beast cavalry. Finally, he looked at the demonic beast female in the carriage. "I'm leaving now. Do you have a problem with that?" A threat. Hearing Yi Xian's words, the Consolidation Realm demon beast in front of the demonic beast female suddenly roared, and it was about to attack. At this moment, Yi Xian suddenly rushed in front of it, raised his fist, and threw a punch at it. The punch landed directly on the demonic beast's head. Bang! The demon beast was directly sent flying, and the carriage was instantly reduced to ashes. However, the demonic beast female had appeared several tens of feet behind Yi Xian. In the distance, the demon beast crashed heavily into the ground after flying several hundred feet, and the entire ground immediately cracked. At this moment, Yi Xian suddenly leaped up, and like a cannonball, he shot towards the demon beast. Bang! Under everyone's gaze, the demon beast's head was directly hit by Yi Xian's punch. Bang! The demon beast's head directly sank into the ground, and Yi Xian ferociously hammered again, and soon, the powerful demon beast stopped moving. It was forcefully hammered to death. At this moment, the surrounding demonic beast finally felt fear. That was a Consolidation Realm demon beast, and it was hammered to death just like that. In the distance, the demonic beast female stared fixedly at Yi Xian, and did not speak. At this moment Yi Xian stopped, and he turned to look at Lin Yan and the little girl. "Let's go." Soon, the three of them leisurely walked into the distance. The demonic beast female suddenly said, "Who are you?" Without turning his head, Yi Xian replied, "The man that you will never be able to get." The demonic beast female. FPZW. Chapter 1581. Yi Xian led Lin Yan and the little girl towards the distant sky capital city. He only had one problem on his mind, and that was to find a way to return to the 9th dimension after settling the two little fellows by his side. But he knew that it was absolutely not a simple matter. If it was really that simple, then the green-clothed man wouldn't have sent him here. Moreover, his cultivation and bloodline were sealed, so only his physical body remained. Could it be that the green-clothed man wanted to strengthen his physical body? Yi Xian was slightly puzzled. He had a feeling that the green-clothed man didn't simply send him here to gain experience. At this moment, the three of them arrived at Sky Capital City. They'd just arrived at the city gates when they were stopped by two soldiers. One of the soldiers pointed his spear at Yi Xian angrily. "Lowly human, you actually dare." Yi Xian moved forward and punched him. Bang! The soldier's head was directly smashed into pieces. An instant kill. Yi Xian punched again, and the other soldier's head was directly smashed into pieces. Yi Xian led the two of them forward. However, they just entered the city when countless demons looked at Yi Xian's group of three. These demons didn't conceal their killing intent at all. Yi Xian's expression was calm. A group of demons stood not too far away from them, and they had no intention of giving way. Yi Xian charged forward and punched them. Bang! The demon in the lead was directly punched in the chest, and then his body instantly exploded into pieces while blood sprayed out. The other demons were stunned when they saw this scene. Is this human really so arrogant? Yi Xian looked at the remaining demons, and their expressions instantly changed as they retreated. Yi Xian led Lin Yan and the little girl forward. As if he'd thought of something, he suddenly turned to look at a nearby demon and asked, "Where's the teleportation array that leads to the mortal dimension?" That demon dweller looked at Yi Xian fearfully and did not say anything. At this time, Yi Xian suddenly grabbed the demon dweller's collar, and then he lifted him up and said angrily, "I asked you a question, didn't you hear me?" Around them, the demonic dwellers looked at Yi Xian in disbelief. Damn it! He had never seen such an arrogant human before. That fiend man was extremely afraid. He hurriedly pointed into the distance and said with a trembling voice, "Go straight." Yi Xian released the demon and brought Lin Yan and the little girl away. Along the way, many demons stared at Yi Xian's group. His expression was unfriendly. At this moment, a burly demon suddenly appeared in front of Yi Xian and the other two. The demon looked at Yi Xian with disdain. "Since when can lowly humans walk on the streets?" Yi Xian thought for a moment and said, "I feel that regardless of humans or demonic beasts, everyone is equal. It is not good for you to be discriminating against us like this." That demon dweller suddenly pointed at Yi Xian angrily. "Equal? You humans are just lowly slaves. Are you worthy to be equal to us demons? You." Just as he said this, Yi Xian suddenly appeared in front of him. In the next moment, under the gaze of all the demonic dwellers, Yi Xian directly grabbed the demon dweller's throat and slammed him onto the ground. Bang! The ground instantly exploded. He did not die. Under the gaze of all the demonic dwellers, Yi Xian suddenly twisted the demon dweller's hair into a twist. Then he dragged the demon dweller forward. Lin Yan looked at Yi Xian with excitement and hurriedly followed. The little girl also hurriedly followed. Just like that, the three of them continued forward. All along the way, the demon dweller that Yi Xian dragged screamed incessantly, and the ground beneath him was covered in blood. The other demonic dwellers in the surroundings were instantly infuriated when they witnessed this scene. That was simply an insult to the demonic dwellers. However, none of them dared to attack. The strength that Yi Xian revealed was truly too terrifying. Suddenly, the ground in the distance started to tremble. It didn't take long for a group of armored demonic dwellers to charge over. There were a few thousand of them. The leader of the demonic dwellers was a commander who held a spear in his hand. When he saw Yi Xian dragging the demon dweller, the commander's expression instantly became ferocious, and he pointed his spear at Yi Xian furiously. "Kill him!" Yi Xian suddenly stopped, but he charged forward in the next moment. He was extremely swift, and the commander's head flew into the air before he could even react. It was an instant kill. However, Yi Xian didn't stop. He charged into the group of demonic dwellers and slaughtered them madly. One punch for one. It wasn't long before thousands of demonic dwellers were lying on the ground, and all of them had died horribly. They either had their heads blown off or their bodies shattered. Fresh blood dyed the ground red. Yi Xian stood amongst the corpses. His eyes slowly closed, and his right hand was clenched tightly. At this moment, he actually felt the blood in his body boil. Could it be that his bloodline is about to break through the seal? As soon as this thought arose in Yi Xian's mind, his blood instantly calmed down. It's been sealed. Yi Xian was slightly speechless. Without thinking too much about it, Yi Xian glanced at the corpses of the demonic dwellers. He suddenly realized that he liked using his fists a little. Fists were more violent than swords. Every time his fist smashed onto the demonic dweller's head, he actually felt a sense of excitement when he saw the demonic dweller's head explode. Fists were more violent than swords, and it made one's blood boil more easily. Yi Xian felt that if he was allowed to kill a few more demonic dwellers, he might be able to allow his insane demon bloodline to directly break through the green-clothed man's seal. Of course, this was only his feeling, and he didn't dare confirm it. After all, it was a seal left behind by the green-clothed man, and it's his father. Thinking of this, Yi Xian shook his head. If I have a son in the future, I will also throw him somewhere else. After saying that, he turned around and walked in front of Lin Yan and the little girl. Let's go. The three of them continued forward. As if he thought of something, Yi Xian looked towards the demonic dweller that he was dragging earlier. When the demonic dweller saw Yi Xian looking over, he hurriedly said with a trembling voice, "Spare my life." After seeing Yi Xian slaughter thousands of people in such a short period of time, his mind became clear. Although the man in front of him was a human, he was a powerful human. Yi Xian blinked his eyes. "You're begging for mercy like a human?" The demonic dweller said with a trembling voice. I think what you said makes sense. Whether it's a demonic dweller or a human, everyone is equal." Just as Yi Xian was about to speak, at this moment, a female demonic dweller suddenly said angrily, "Coward." Yi Xian looked at the female, and the female angrily stared at the man in front of Yi Xian and angrily scolded. "Even if he is powerful, he is still a lowly human. We demonic dwellers will never submit to a human. I would rather die." Yi Xian suddenly disappeared from his spot, and the next moment, the female's head directly smashed into the ground. Bang! Blood splattered everywhere. She didn't die, but the female's body was deformed. Yi Xian looked at the female and grinned. "You have guts." After saying that, he stepped on the female's foot. Bang! The female's right foot directly shattered. And it was not over yet. Yi Xian kicked again. Very quickly, the female's 4 limbs were broken by Yi Xian's foot. And it was not over yet. Yi Xian suddenly grabbed the female's hair. And at this moment, the female said with a trembling voice, "Spare." Before she finished speaking, Yi Xian suddenly grabbed the female's hair and violently smashed it on the ground. Very quickly, the ground around him was filled with large craters. After a while, Yi Xian threw the female's corpse to the side, and in front of him, there was a pool of blood. This scene directly scared the surrounding demonic dwellers silly. The demonic dwellers all retreated and looked at Yi Xian as if they were looking at a monster. And the demonic dweller beside Yi Xian, that was dragged away by him earlier, had already fainted from fright. "This is too violent." Yi Xian clapped his hands, turned his head to look at the demonic dwellers and grinned. "Do you still have guts? I specialize in dealing with those who refuse to submit." Everyone looked at Yi Xian as if they were looking at a devil. And Yi Xian himself did not notice that his eyes were actually a little scarlet. But very quickly, Yi Xian also noticed that something was wrong. He slowly closed his eyes, because he discovered that the blood vessels in his body actually started to surge again. He can feel that it is not immortal blood meridians, but mad demon blood meridians. But very quickly, the blood in his body returned to normal. Yi Xian frowned. What is going on? After a while, Yi Xian collected his thoughts, turned to look at Lin Yan and the little girl, and said with a smile, "Let's go." Finished speaking, the 3 of them continued to move forward. And this time, no demonic dwellers stopped them. On the other side of the street, there is a horse carriage, and inside the horse carriage is a woman. It is the demonic dweller that Yi Xian met once before outside the city. She has seen everything that happened on the street just now. The demonic dweller looked at Yi Xian's back. No one knows what she is thinking. At this time, not far from her, a demonic dweller cavalry suddenly said, "Miss, the sky is going to turn dark. We must leave this place before the sky turns dark." The demonic dweller glanced at the sky, nodded slightly, and put down the curtain. The horse carriage continued to move forward. Yi Xian, Lin Yan, and the little girl arrived at the teleportation field of Divine Capital City. There are over 100 teleportation points here, and they can lead to various places in the devil dimension. Yi Xian glanced at the teleportation points, and every teleportation point has a name written below it. Very quickly, Yi Xian found the teleportation point that leads to the mortal dimension. Just as Yi Xian was about to lead the 2 of them to the teleportation point, Yi Xian suddenly turned to look, and there is a group of people walking over. It is the group of people that he met outside the city, and at this moment, the woman in the horse carriage has walked out. The soldiers around the woman are looking at Yi Xian with extremely vigilant expressions. The woman glanced at Yi Xian, and then she led the group of people towards the teleportation point. Yi Xian did not stay for long, and he led Lin Yan and the little girl towards the teleportation point. However, Just as they were about to enter the teleportation point, the sky suddenly split open, and the next moment, a white light suddenly descended from the sky. Boom! Before the crowd could react, the teleportation array had been turned into nothingness. When the white light dissipated, a person walked out. When he saw this person, Yi Xian, who was in the distance, had a drastic change in his expression. He was so frightened that he took a few steps back. F***CK. What the hell? P.S. Many readers said that to open a new map, I want to write a few thousand chapters. Don't worry, I have never written more than 500 chapters in a world. The story of the Devil Dimension can't even be written for dozens of chapters. Everyone, don't worry. The Only Sword won't write for too long, because only popular books will the author continue writing crazily, because it can earn money. The Only Sword isn't popular, so when it's time to end, I won't write too much. Sometimes when I slow down, I just want to write a better story, because if the plot is too fast, it's easy to lose a lot of people. And if I slow down, it's easy to be criticized. When I slow down, I try to write as much as possible, so that everyone can read more comfortably. Thank you to all the readers who have supported me, especially those from Zongheng, who have quietly subscribed and supported me. It's your subscription and support that allowed me to persevere for so long. I don't want to be a young model anymore, because I'm already a flop. Everyone, don't compare me to some of the gods, saying that the gods don't care about the original subscription, and even suggesting that the readers read the pirated version. That's because the copyright is worth tens of millions. The Only Sword's copyright isn't worth much. No one wants it. The top gods want the copyright, but we, the poor authors, can only beg for subscriptions. The number of readers who read the original version is really too little. If it weren't for the support of the readers from Zongheng, this book might have already been abandoned. What three swords, what Qing Air? It's all gone now. Or is it that in the hearts of some readers, I'm also a god? A yearly income of tens of millions? To be honest, I have this dream every day. FPZW. Chapter 1582. The reason why Yi Xian was so shocked was because he knew the person in front of him. This person was none other than Mu Xiaodao. Mu Xiaodao. Yi Xian looked at Mu Xiaodao in front of him in a daze. Damn it, how much hatred does she have? She chased me all the way here. Is this woman crazy? Mu Xiaodao slowly closed her eyes. Her face was slightly pale. It was obvious that she had consumed a lot of energy. Yi Xian glanced at Mu Xiaodao and felt like slipping away. But he knew that he couldn't slip away now. Not to mention now, even if his cultivation wasn't sealed, he might not be able to defeat this woman. At this moment, Mu Xiaodao suddenly opened her eyes and looked at Yi Xian. The corners of her mouth curled up. Long time no see. Yi Xian looked at Mu Xiaodao. Miss Mu, I really admire you. You actually chased me all the way here. You're really a talent. Mu Xiaodao sized up Yi Xian, and her eyes suddenly lit up. Your cultivation has been sealed. Yi Xian's expression was calm. Yes. Mu Xiaodao opened her palm, and a flying knife suddenly appeared in her hand. She looked at Yi Xian with a faint smile. Come, I'll let you punch me first. Yi Xian. On the other side, the demonic woman sized up Mu Xiaodao. No one knew what she was thinking. At this moment, a powerful aura suddenly came from afar. Everyone looked up. The space in the sky suddenly split open. In the next moment, a middle-aged man walked out. It was a demonic person, an Eternal Realm expert. After the middle-aged man appeared, his gaze fell on Yi Xian and the others. When he saw Yi Xian and the others, his eyes immediately turned cold. You slaughtered the demonic people in the city? Yi Xian didn't say anything. Mu Xiaodao blinked her eyes and put away her flying knife. Obviously, she wanted to watch the show. At this moment, dozens of people suddenly appeared behind the middle-aged man. These people all had very strong auras. The weakest was at the Dao Attainment realm. The middle-aged man glanced at Yi Xian and the others before he said, "Kill them." As soon as he finished speaking, the people behind him suddenly charged towards the group below. Those people were not only targeting Yi Xian, they were also targeting Mu Xiaodao. Seeing this scene, Mu Xiaodao suddenly frowned. Wait. However, those Devil Dweller experts didn't wait at all. A Devil Dweller directly charged in front of her and stabbed his spear towards her head. Before the spear could even get close to Mu Xiaodao, the Devil Dweller's head flew into the air. In the distance, Yi Xian had already defeated more than 10 demonic cultivators. They were all instant kills. When they saw this scene, the remaining Devil Dwellers didn't dare to move forward. In the sky, the middle-aged man frowned deeply. There was a trace of seriousness in his eyes. The strength of these two humans had exceeded his expectations. Without any hesitation, the middle-aged man took out a voice transmission stone. Call for help. At this moment, Mu Xiaodao, who was not far away, suddenly looked at the middle-aged man. Is there something wrong with your head? The middle-aged man looked at Mu Xiaodao. Mu Xiaodao pointed at herself. Why did you hit me? I'm not on his side. The middle-aged man gazed at Mu Xiaodao. So I can't hit you if I'm not on your side? Yi Xian was speechless. Mu Xiaodao's gaze gradually turned cold as she gazed at the middle-aged man. Are you retarded? The middle-aged man stared fixedly at Mu Xiaodao. All of you lowly humans deserve death. Mu Xiaodao's beautiful brows knit together slightly when she heard this. Lowly humans? The middle-aged man spoke coldly. Aren't humans lowly? Mu Xiaodao blinked, and then she gazed at Yi Xian. Yi Xian spoke seriously. They discriminate against humans. Mu Xiaodao gazed at the middle-aged man with slight surprise. You discriminate against humans? The middle-aged man laughed coldly. Lowly humans, all of you are only fit to be dogs of us Devil Dwellers. Yi Xian shook his head. He'd finally noticed. These people discriminated against humans. And it wasn't just an ordinary level of severity. Mu Xiaodao suddenly turned to look at Yi Xian. Did you just slaughter those Devil Dwellers? Yi Xian nodded. Mu Xiaodao gave a thumbs up. Well done. As soon as she finished speaking, the flying dagger in her hand suddenly disappeared. In the next moment, the middle-aged man's head flew into the air. Before the remaining Devil Dwellers could react, their heads flew into the air one after another. In less than a breath's time, the middle-aged man and the others were all instantly killed. Seeing this scene, the female Devil Dweller and the others were dumbfounded. That was a consolidation realm expert. They were instantly killed just like that. At this moment, Mu Xiaodao turned to look at the female Devil Dweller and the others. The expressions of the female Devil Dweller and the others instantly changed. The female Devil Dweller hurriedly said, Sir, we do not discriminate against humans. Mu Xiaodao glanced at the female Devil Dweller and put away her flying dagger. She looked at Yi Xian. At this moment, the distant horizon suddenly split open. In the next moment, a group of Devil Dwellers charged out. The leader was an old man. When he saw the corpses of the Devil Dwellers, the old man's gaze immediately turned cold, and he looked at Mu Xiaodao in the distance. You killed them? Mu Xiaodao nodded and smiled. I killed them. Not convinced. The old man's eyes narrowed slightly. You're very arrogant. Mu Xiaodao smiled, and then she opened her palm. A flying dagger suddenly appeared in her hand. In the next moment, the flying dagger suddenly flew out. In the sky, the old man's pupils suddenly constricted, and he suddenly smashed his fist forward. As his fist descended, the space in front of him transformed into an enormous crater. However, who was this person in front of her? It was Mu Xiaodao. The flying dagger slashed through the sky. Hiss! The old man's body was directly slashed into two by the flying dagger, and blood covered the ground. The flying dagger didn't vanish. After it circled the sky once, the Devil Dwellers in the sky were instantly killed. They didn't even have the strength to fight back. The female Devil Dweller and the others were horrified by this scene. These two humans before them were truly too terrifying. Mu Xiaodao opened her palm, and the flying dagger returned to her hand. She gazed at Yi Xian who stood nearby. Yi Xian smiled embarrassedly. Humans don't fight humans. Mu Xiaodao gazed at Yi Xian, and then she opened her palm, and the flying dagger appeared. Yi Xian's eyelids twitched when he witnessed this scene, and he hurriedly said, Let's stop for a moment. Mu Xiaodao blinked. Are you trying to trick me? Yi Xian spoke in a low voice. Can you let me finish something before we fight? Mu Xiaodao thought for a moment and said, Go ahead. Yi Xian gazed at Lin Yan and the young girl. I want to send them to the mortal dimension. It's truly too dangerous for them to stay here. Mu Xiaodao glanced at Lin Yan and the little girl and smiled. You can rest in peace. I'll help you send them to the mortal dimension. As she spoke, she was about to attack. Meanwhile, Yi Xian suddenly said, If you really want to do that, then I'll have to release the sword energy within me. It's the sword energy left behind by that green-clothed man. Sword energy. Mu Xiaodao immediately stopped and glanced at Yi Xian. You have sword energy within you? Yi Xian smiled. You can sense it for yourself. Mu Xiaodao gazed at Yi Xian, and her expression gradually became slightly solemn. He really does. Yi Xian smiled. Miss Mu, even though my cultivation is sealed right now, if I release this sword energy that can save my life, then... Hee. Mu Xiaodao fell silent for a moment before she suddenly smiled. I, Mu Xiaodao, am not an unreasonable person. You're doing a good deed by sending these two humans to the mortal dimension. So how could I stop you? Come, I'll go with both of you. Yi Xian was speechless. Mu Xiaodao blinked. Are we going or not? Yi Xian spoke indifferently. When you came, you destroyed the teleportation formation. There's no way to leave now. Mu Xiaodao turned around and saw that the teleportation formations behind her had been destroyed. Meanwhile, the woman suddenly said, Both of you can head to Hidden Heaven City. There's a teleportation formation there that can teleport you to the surroundings of the mortal dimension. Yi Xian gazed at the woman. Hidden Heaven City? The woman nodded. Yes. It's a few 100 kilometers ahead. Yi Xian thought for a moment and said, Thank you. As soon as he finished speaking, he gazed at Mu Xiaodao. Let's go. It didn't take long for them to continue on their way. The woman gazed at the figures of Yi Xian and the others in the distance, and she said softly, I'm afraid their journey won't be peaceful. An old man by the woman's side spoke in a low voice. Young miss, these two humans might not be from our demon domain. The woman nodded. I know. Both of them are shocked by how the demon domain discriminates against humans. Obviously, they've just arrived here. The old man nodded. If I'm not wrong, Demon City should know about them. The woman glanced at the corpses of the demon domain in the distance. All of them came from Demon City. After a while, the woman suddenly spoke. The secret domain will open in a few days, let's go. As soon as she finished speaking, she turned and left. Soon, the group of demon domain vanished into the distance. Outside the city, Yi Xian's group of four headed towards Hidden Heaven City. On the way, Yi Xian suddenly asked, Young Miss Mu, can I ask you about something? Mu Xiaodao spoke indifferently. You want to ask about Xiao Air? Yi Xian nodded. Mu Xiaodao smiled. Don't worry, she'll be fine. Yi Xian frowned. Really? Mu Xiaodao said indifferently. No one in the Cosmos God Court can punish her. The only thing that can punish her is the misfortune law. The misfortune law won't really hurt her, but it will probably brainwash her. Therefore, you have to be careful, because the next time you meet her, she might have already been brainwashed. Yi Xian glanced at Mu Xiaodao. What about you? Have you been brainwashed? Mu Xiaodao spoke indifferently. I've been brainwashed every day, but I'm just listening. You can have faith, but you have to be rational. Because many people like to use faith to enslave others. Anyway, if faith is good for me, I'll believe. If it's not good, I won't believe a chicken feather. Yi Xian gave a thumbs up. Amazing. He suddenly realized that this Mu Xiaodao was actually a person who was neither good nor evil. And also an especially shameless person. If it's good for her, she'll acknowledge it. If it's not good for her, she won't acknowledge it. The Cosmos Divine Court was really unlucky to accept such a person. At this moment, Mu Xiaodao spoke suddenly. You asked me a question just now. I want to ask you a question too. Yi Xian said. Speak. Mu Xiaodao spoke indifferently. That green-robed man is quite strong. Did he tell you how to surpass the mortal realm? Yi Xian's expression became strange. Damn it. This woman isn't here to kill me. She's here to ask for information. Chapter 1583. Beyond the Mortal Realm. Yi Xian knew what was going on. He asked calmly, Miss Mu, have you not surpassed the mortal realm? Mu Xiaodao glanced at Yi Xian. Is there a problem? Yi Xian smiled. There's no other meaning. Miss Mu is so strong that I always thought you had surpassed the mortal realm. Mu Xiaodao's expression was calm. You haven't answered my question. Yi Xian thought about it and said, He did. Mu Xiaodao looked at Yi Xian. How do I break through to the mortal realm? Yi Xian smiled. Miss Mu, there's something I'm curious about. The laws of the universe are so strong. Logically speaking, they should be able to help you surpass the mortal realm, right? Mu Xiaodao went silent for a while. Would you believe me if I told you that I've never seen the laws of the universe? Yi Xian frowned. How is that possible? You're a guardian of the universe. Mu Xiaodao said. Not just me. Besides the Xian, almost all the other guardians of the universe have never seen the laws of the universe. The reason we became guardians of the universe was because we passed some tests. As for the laws of the universe, we've never seen them before. Yi Xian said solemnly. Are they really that mysterious? Mu Xiaodao looked towards the depths of space. A very long time ago, the laws of the universe were everywhere. But later on, when someone started to defy the laws of the universe, the laws of the universe went into hiding. When they went into hiding, even we couldn't contact them. Yi Xian suddenly asked, What about the Cosmos God Court? Was it created by the laws of the universe? Mu Xiaodao said, Sort of. However, the first God Lord of the Cosmos God Court, the founder of the Cosmos God Court, no one knows who he is. The current God Lord of the Cosmos God Court is a fellow called Dxane. Yi Xian went silent for a while, then asked, Are there any existences in the Cosmos God Court that have surpassed the mortal realm? Mu Xiaodao thought about it and said, There are many. Yi Xian. Mu Xiaodao pretended to be surprised. You don't look too good. Are you sick? Yi Xian said indifferently, If I can't beat them, I'll call for help. Mu Xiaodao's smile froze. Yi Xian also pretended to be surprised. Miss Xiaodao, your expression doesn't look good either. Are you sick? Come on, take off your clothes. I'll take a look at you. Mu Xiaodao opened her palm, and a flying knife appeared in her hand. She looked at Yi Xian with a smile that was not a smile. Do you want to see? Yi Xian said seriously. Looks like Miss Xiaodao has recovered from her illness. I don't want to watch anymore. Mu Xiaodao glanced at Yi Xian. Do you want to know the strongest people in the Cosmos God Court? Yi Xian quickly asked. Who? Mu Xiaodao smiled and said, Dxian. There was also Wu Ke from the Heavenly King Palace. He had met Dxian a long time ago. This is a person who makes me feel very dangerous. In this world, there are very few things that can make me feel extremely dangerous. Yi Xian asked again. What about Wu Ke? Mu Xiaodao said, She is from the Heaven King Hall. She is the hall master of the first hall, under the God Court. She is in charge of the 72 Heaven Kings. It is said that with her strength, she could have entered the God Court a long time ago, and obtained a word from the laws of the universe with another fella. However, for some reason, she did not enter the God Court, and has always been in the Heaven King Hall. However, there was once a super expert in the God Court who fought with her, and was defeated in 10 moves. And that expert had already surpassed the mortal realm a long time ago. Yi Xian went silent for a while, and continued to ask, What about the other one? Mu Xiaodao said indifferently, Lord God Official, known as the number 1 person under the laws. He is the other fella that I mentioned just now. He is in charge of the 36 ancient gods, and the mysterious spirit hall. Yi Xian said solemnly, During the war, these people you mentioned didn't come, right? Mu Xiaodao nodded. Yi Xian was confused. Why didn't they come? Mu Xiaodao glanced at Yi Xian. You are not the only target of the Cosmos God Court. Yi Xian frowned slightly. What do you mean? Mu Xiaodao said indifferently. In this vast universe, the Cosmos God Court still has some opponents. These people do not abide by the laws of the universe. There are also some who want to overthrow the Cosmos God Court. Yi Xian blinked. Overthrow the Cosmos God Court? Mu Xiaodao nodded. For example, Some people who want to obtain eternal life. These people are extremely strong. They want to go against the laws of the universe and obtain eternal life. These people are the targets of the Cosmos God Court. Other than that, there are some extremely strong people who want to reincarnate. These people are also the targets of the Cosmos God Court. According to what I know, there are two powers that are giving the Cosmos God Court a headache. Yi Xian asked, which two? Mu Xiaodao said, Sky Estate and Nether Hall. Nether Hall. Yi Xian was astonished. You mean Nether Hall? Mu Xiaodao glanced at Yi Xian. You know them? Yi Xian nodded. His heart was incomparably shocked. He did not expect his aunt's Nether Hall to be in conflict with the Cosmos God Court. Mu Xiaodao continued. Other than these two superpowers, there is also a wanted list within the Cosmos God Court. It is called the Universe's Wanted List. The top 10 people on this list are all extremely terrifying people. According to what I know, the top 3 people on this wanted list are all extremely terrifying experts. They are people that can give the Cosmos God Court a headache. Yi Xian blinked. Really? Mu Xiaodao nodded. The Cosmos God Court did not pay attention to you previously because they had stronger people to deal with. However, now the Cosmos God Court will definitely pay attention to you. And you are already on the universe's wanted list. Yi Xian was slightly curious. What's my rank on the list? Mu Xiaodao said indifferently. 36. Fuck. Yi Xian suddenly jumped up and said angrily. I'm only 36? I'm only 36? Mu Xiaodao glanced at Yi Xian. Why is it low? Yi Xian pointed at himself in disbelief. I'm so powerful, but I'm only 36? Yi Xian said indifferently. You're powerful? Think about it. If you did not have the help of the Undying Emperor clan and the green-robed man, would you still be powerful? Yi Xian went silent. Mu Xiaodao said indifferently. Without their help, I can deal with you alone, right? Yi Xian thought about it and said, why don't we change the topic? Mu Xiaodao. Yi Xian shook his head and smiled. Actually, he knew that he was not strong enough, but he was really sullen. He had just reached the mortal realm and thought that he could act cool. But he did not expect that a huge group of mortal realm experts would come to fight him. Moreover, even those above mortal realm had appeared. He did not want to call for help. He wanted to rely on himself and then kill his way to the Cosmos God Court and shout, I want to die. But he was not strong enough. At this moment Mu Xiaodao said, but you have to be careful now, because the Cosmos God Court has started to pay attention to you. If I'm not wrong, they should be looking for you. Yi Xian. Mu Xiaodao suddenly said, you have asked me so many questions, now it's my turn to ask you. Yi Xian nodded. Ask away. Mu Xiaodao looked at Yi Xian. Who is the green-robed man? Yi Xian said, my father. Mu Xiaodao blinked. Your father? Yi Xian nodded. Mu Xiaodao went silent for a moment and asked, what about the woman in the plain dress? Yi Xian said, my sister. Mu Xiaodao's eyes widened. Are you sure? Yi Xian nodded. But she is not related to the green-robed man. She is my sister from my previous life. Mu Xiaodao went silent for a long time before saying, so that means that the green-robed man is your father, the plain-dress woman is your sister, and that white-robed swordsman is your big brother? Yi Xian nodded. Mu Xiaodao gave a thumbs up to Yi Xian. I'm impressed. Yi Xian. Mu Xiaodao sighed softly and a sense of helplessness rose in her heart. How could the Cosmos God Court fight against this strong second generation? She had never faced the plain-dress woman before, and did not know her true strength. But how could a person who dared to search for the laws of the universe be weak? She had seen the white-robed swordsman and the green-robed man, and had fought them before. Just thinking about them made her despair. Mu Xiaodao sighed again, and turned to look at Yi Xian. Was the Cosmos God Court really going to fight to the death with this strong second generation? At this moment, she was a little worried for the Cosmos God Court. After a long time, Mu Xiaodao asked again, did they teach you how to reach beyond the mortal realm? Yi Xian shook his head. No. Mu Xiaodao nodded, and did not speak anymore. Yi Xian looked at Mu Xiaodao. Miss Mu, you did not come to find me to kill me, right? Mu Xiaodao said calmly. Let's see how it goes. Yi Xian. As the two spoke, they had unknowingly arrived at Hidden Sky City. Buried Sky City was bigger and more prosperous than Sky Capital City. There were people coming and going in front of the city gates. Of course, they were all demons. When Yi Xian and company arrived at the city gates, countless demons looked over. These demons looked at Yi Xian and company with undisguised hostility. Yi Xian looked at those demons. Miss Mu, is the Cosmos God Court not welcomed here? Mu Xiaodao said calmly. The Cosmos God Court only has contact with a few top powers here. Hearing this, Yi Xian understood. This meant that some of the lower powers in the demon domain did not even know the Cosmos God Court. At this moment, the demon soldiers suddenly retreated. Seeing this, Yi Xian frowned slightly. These fellows actually did not attack. There was something fishy going on. Soon Yi Xian and company entered the city. Just as they entered, the city gates behind them suddenly closed. Seeing this, Yi Xian shook his head. The racial discrimination in the demon domain had reached such an extent. No matter how strong they were, they still wanted to kill them. Right at this moment, countless soldiers suddenly appeared around the city walls. At the same time, thousands of Devilkin soldiers walked over in a formation in front of them. These Devilkin soldiers were clearly the elites of the elites, and all of them emanated a murderous aura. Other than that, countless archers suddenly appeared on the surrounding houses. They were surrounded. Yi Xian looked at Mu Xiaodao. The humans are being bullied to this extent. Cosmos God Court is not going to do anything? Mu Xiaodao said calmly. How? Exterminate the demons in the demon domain? Yi Xian frowned slightly. Aren't you guys protecting the order of the universe? Mu Xiaodao looked at Yi Xian. The demons did not go against the order of the universe. Moreover, if we help the humans fight the demons, when the demons are weaker, won't the humans still enslave them? Moreover, you pity the humans. Do you know how cruel the humans are to other races? Yi Xian was about to speak. At this moment, the sky suddenly split open. At the next moment, a demon elder walked out. God Valiant Stage Expert. The demon elder looked down at Yi Xian and company. Moments later, he waved his right hand. The soldiers in his hand instantly retreated like a receding tide. Apparently, he had sensed the strength of Yi Xian and Lin Xian. He knew that soldiers like Dao Yi were useless against them. The demon elder looked at Yi Xian. Who exactly are you? Yi Xian thought for a moment and said, Have you heard of the Cosmos God Court? The demon elder squinted his eyes. You are from the Cosmos God Court. Yi Xian nodded. Yes. The demon elder suddenly said fiercely. Is the Cosmos God Court very amazing? Yi Xian was speechless. The demon elder stared at Yi Xian. The two of you have massacred tens of thousands of demons. There's no need to talk about the Cosmos God Court. Even the laws of the universe wouldn't be able to protect the two of you. Yi Xian was dumbfounded. F***ck, even I'm not as arrogant as you. He almost couldn't help but want to give the old man a thumbs up. P.S. I've been working hard to save manuscripts. By the way, have I ever released more than 10 chapters? Chapter 1584. Beside Yi Xian, Mu Xiaodao's expression was unusually calm. She glanced at the demon old man. You don't even place the Cosmos God Court in your eyes? The demon old man looked at Mu Xiaodao and mocked. Is the Cosmos God Court worthy of my demon world's attention? Yi Xian gave the demon old man a thumbs up. Impressive. Mu Xiaodao looked at the demon old man. You are really arrogant. The moment she finished speaking, she opened her palm, and a flying knife appeared in it. In the next instant, the flying knife suddenly disappeared. Chi! A sharp tearing sound could be heard. In the sky, the demon old man's pupils constricted. Just as he was about to attack, a flying knife suddenly appeared in between his eyebrows. The knife penetrated half an inch and fresh blood flowed out. Mu Xiaodao did not kill the demon old man immediately. She walked in front of the demon old man. What rights do you have to look down on the Cosmos God Court? The demon old man stared at Mu Xiaodao. Do you dare to let me call for help? Yi Xian. Mu Xiaodao nodded. Sure. Call for help. With that, she retreated to the side. However, the flying knife still pierced the demon old man's eyebrows. The demon old man hurriedly took out a sound transmission stone and started to call for help below. Yi Xian glanced at Mu Xiaodao and said, "There is no need for us to waste time with him." Mu Xiaodao raged. "It's fine if he looks down on the Cosmos God Court. What right does he have to look down on the laws of the universe?" Yi Xian was speechless. Clearly, the demon old man's words, even if the laws of the universe came, they wouldn't be able to protect the two of you, had agitated Mu Xiaodao. Yi Xian glanced at the demon old man. He was slightly impressed by this old man. To be honest, only 3 swords could look down on the laws of the universe and the Cosmos God Court. Moreover, this old man's words and expressions were filled with disdain towards the Cosmos God Court and the laws of the universe. Towards this, Imouji could not understand. At this moment, the space behind the demon old man suddenly trembled. "It's coming." The demon elder stared at Mu Xiaodao. "You will bring a calamity to your Cosmos God Court." Below, Yi Xian was dumbfounded. Even he felt a little ashamed of his own inferiority when it came to acting tough. Mu Xiaodao looked at the old man. She just looked at him with a calm expression. However, the space around her suddenly trembled. At this moment, a middle-aged man suddenly walked out from behind the demonic cultivator. The middle-aged man wore a gorgeous brocade robe. He was tall and sturdy, and there was a hint of hostility between his brows. Heaven's final realm expert. The middle-aged man looked down at Mu Xiaodao. "You are from the Cosmos God Court?" Mu Xiaodao nodded. The middle-aged man stared at Mu Xiaodao. "Is the Cosmos God Court very impressive?" Yi Xian was speechless. Mu Xiaodao nodded. "To some people it's really nothing." But, as she spoke, she looked at the middle-aged man. "What kind of trash are you? How dare you look down on the Cosmos God Court?" The moment she said that, she opened her palm and a flying knife flew out. In the sky, the middle-aged man's pupils constricted. He punched downwards. This punch caused the space in front of him to shatter. At the same time, the space around him cracked. However, his fist wasn't able to block Mu Xiaodao's flying knife. The flying knife pierced through his fist and slashed his head along his arm. Chi! The middle-aged man's body was split into 2. Fresh blood spurted out like a fountain. It was extremely bloody. On the other side, the demonic cultivator was stunned. A Heaven's Final Realm expert was killed just like that? Mu Xiaodao looked at the demonic cultivator. "Do you still want to call for more people?" The demonic cultivator stared at Mu Xiaodao. "Do you know who you killed?" "You." As he said that, the flying knife stabbed into his forehead. Chi! The demonic cultivator died on the spot. Yi Xian turned his head and looked at Mu Xiaodao. Mu Xiaodao said, "These people are too weak. Let's not waste time with them. Let's go." Yi Xian nodded. All of them continued forward. On the way, the little girl by Yi Xian's side suddenly pulled his hand and said softly, "Big brother, is the Cosmos God Court really powerful?" Yi Xian was speechless. Mu Xiaodao glanced at the little girl. "What's your name?" The little girl hesitated for a moment and said, "I don't have a name. Many slaves don't have names." Mu Xiaodao frowned slightly. "Are all the humans here slaves?" Lin Yan suddenly said, "Besides the mortal dimension, all the other humans are slaves of the demonic cultivators." Mu Xiaodao shook his head. "The humans in this place are too bad." In next to no time, they arrived at the teleportation area of Hidden Heaven City. Yi Xian glanced around and noticed the teleportation formation that led to the mortal dimension. After they entered the teleportation formation, it started to tremble. Right when they were about to vanish completely, the space in the distance suddenly split open. In the next moment, a powerful aura swept over. Mu Xiaodao frowned slightly when he saw this scene, and he was about to attack. Yi Xian stopped Mu Xiaodao. "Ignore them for now." As soon as he spoke, the teleportation formation was activated, and they vanished. Right after they vanished, a black-robed old demon suddenly appeared here. The old demon's expression instantly turned ferocious when he saw Yi Xian and the others vanish, and then he suddenly slapped down with his palm, causing the teleportation formation below to instantly turn into ashes. A short moment later, the black-robed old man spoke fiercely. Do you think the mortal dimension can protect all of you? As soon as he finished speaking, he turned around and vanished. The news of Yi Xian and Lin Yan slaughtering the demonic cultivators spread quickly, and the entire devil dimension exploded when they found out that 2 humans had slaughtered the demonic cultivators. Humans slaughtering the demonic cultivators? Isn't that going against the heavens? It's an extraordinary humiliation. The demonic cultivators were actually killed by humans, and that was an extraordinary humiliation to the demonic cultivators. For a time, countless demonic cultivators formed groups and rushed to Hidden Heaven City. Their objective was very simple, and it was to kill Yi Xian and Lin Yan. Moreover, many demonic cultivators surged into Demonic City and requested the city to send experts to kill the 2 humans. Because the other worlds had found out that the demonic cultivators had been slaughtered by humans, and the demonic cultivators of the devil dimension had become a laughingstock. Demonic City. Demonic City was the capital of the devil dimension, and it was the most prosperous place in the entire devil dimension. At this moment, countless demonic cultivators had arrived at the Demonic City's main hall, and they requested to send experts to kill Yi Xian and Lin Yan. At this moment, the main hall of Demonic City was filled with experts, and the person in the lead was the son of the Devil Dimension's Lord, Song Ming. Because the Devil Dimension's Lord was in closed-door cultivation, everything in the Devil Dimension was managed by his son, Song Ming. Song Ming looked at the black-robed old man before him. "Mortal realm, are you sure?" The black-robed old man nodded and said in a low voice, "The woman with the flying dagger is indeed at the mortal realm. As for the human, he's a little weak, and his cultivation is very low. His physical body is only at the consolidation realm, so there's nothing to worry about. Our real target is the woman with the flying dagger." The woman with the flying dagger. At this moment, a demonic cultivator old man suddenly said, "Is she sure that she's from the Cosmos God Court?" The black-robed old man nodded. "Yes. Both of them should be from the Cosmos God Court." The demonic cultivator old man frowned. Since when did a mortal realm expert appear in the Cosmos God Court? Within the main hall, all the demonic cultivator experts were filled with doubt. In the Devil Domain continent, there was a Cosmos Enforcer Hall, and this Cosmos Enforcer Hall belonged to the Cosmos God Court. However, the human experts in the Cosmos Enforcer Hall were very weak, and the strongest one was only at the Heavenly Dao realm. At this moment, Song Ming suddenly said, "They should be from the outside world." The black-robed old man nodded. "From our investigations, the 2 of them seem to be very unfamiliar with our devil domain. Therefore, they should be from the outside world." In the main hall, Song Ming slowly closed his eyes. Cosmos God Court. Actually, he didn't know much. He only knew that when the Great Devil Lord was still around, the Great Devil Lord had come into contact with the Cosmos God Court. As for the strength of the Cosmos God Court, he didn't know either. His father might know a little about Dao Yi. However, his father was currently in closed-door cultivation. Obviously, he wouldn't disturb him over such a small matter. What was worth mentioning was that the Cosmos Enforcer Hall in the Devil Domain was really weak. At this moment, the black-robed old man spoke again. "Young World Lord, no matter what, we must capture these 2. Otherwise, we might not be able to incur the wrath of the commoners." Another demonic cultivator said, "Actually, this is an opportunity for us." Everyone looked towards the demonic cultivator who spoke. The demonic cultivator continued, "Now, all the demonic cultivators in the devil domain want to kill these 2 humans. In other words, as long as we give the order, countless demonic cultivators will be willing to participate in the battle. And we can take this opportunity to devour the entire mortal world." Devour the mortal world. A trace of excitement flashed through Song Ming's eyes. This was because the mortal world had a supreme spiritual vein. However, because the Tao ancestor of the mortal world had an agreement with the Few Realms Lords, the Few Realms didn't have an excuse to attack, even though they coveted the supreme spiritual vein. Now these 2 humans had escaped to the mortal world. Wasn't this an excuse that was given to them? Song Ming suddenly said, "Pass down my order, let the demonic cultivators return to Devil City immediately." "Understood." One of the demonic cultivators bowed respectfully before he retreated. At this moment, a demonic cultivator elder beside Song Ming suddenly said, "Young World Lord, I think we should ask the Realm's Lord about this matter." Song Ming glanced at the elder. "Elder Yu, do you think that I don't have the ability to handle this matter?" Elder Yu shook his head. "No, it's just that this Cosmos God Court isn't a simple organization. Since we don't know much about it, we should be more cautious to avoid provoking." Song Ming shook his head and smiled. "He's just a mortal realm expert. Moreover, Elder Yu, these two have slaughtered tens of thousands of demonic cultivators in the devil world. If we sit back and do nothing, how do you think the demonic cultivators in the devil world will look at us?" Just as Elder Yu was about to speak, Song Ming suddenly stood up. "Pass down my order. Head to the mortal world. Head to the mortal world." The moment this order was given, the entire devil world was in an uproar. Many demonic cultivators even shouted the slogan, "Destroy the Cosmos God Court. Destroy the law." Chapter 1585. The Human Realm. Not long after, Yi Xian and the others appeared on an enormous teleportation platform. Not too far away from them stood some demons, and they were in charge of maintaining the teleportation formations. The demons were first stunned when they saw Yi Xian's group, and then they were about to charge towards Yi Xian's group. However, in the next moment, a flying dagger suddenly flashed past them. Hiss! Over a dozen demons' heads flew into the air. Mu Xiaodao glanced at Yi Xian. "Let's go." With that, she walked off into the distance. Yi Xian shook his head and smiled. This woman is quite violent. It's obvious that she doesn't have a good impression of these demons. However, that's normal. These demons treat humans like they've killed their parents. As long as it's a human, they wouldn't have a good impression of them. The group advanced. Around an hour later, they arrived before an ancient city, the city of humans. This city was the last pure land for humans in the infernal realm. Humans in other places would either be enslaved or tortured to death. Only here could humans live with dignity. And it was all because of a single person. The Tao ancestor. All those years ago, he'd established his orthodoxy here, and used his formidable strength to fight the realm lords of the four realms, forcing them to acknowledge his position in the human realm. However, both sides had agreed that humans from the human realm could not leave the human realm. Otherwise, they would be responsible for their own lives. Although the Tao ancestor was strong, he couldn't save all humans. Because if both sides continued to fight, then it would be a life and death struggle. Perhaps the Tao ancestor could survive, but countless humans would definitely die. Thus, the Tao ancestor had stopped. When they arrived at the city, Yi Xian noticed that the city gates were tightly shut. At this moment, a human man suddenly appeared on the city walls. He looked down at Yi Xian and the others. "You're the ones who killed the demons." Obviously, everyone in the human realm knew what Yi Xian and Mu Xiaodao had done. Down below, Yi Xian nodded. "Yes," the man suddenly said angrily. "You killed the demons, yet you've come to the human realm. Are you trying to drag us down?" Hearing this, Yi Xian was stunned. Mu Xiaodao furrowed his brows. Meanwhile, the man suddenly said angrily, "All of you killed the devils, so the devils in the devil dimension won't let all of you off. Yet all of you still came to the mortal dimension. Do all of you know that you'll implicate all of us?" With Mu Xiaodao's explosive temper, she was about to make a move, but was stopped by Yi Xian. Yi Xian nodded. "You're right. How about this? We were the ones who killed the devil dwellers, so you guys let my two friends in. The two of us will leave this place and lure the devil dwellers away." The man stared at Yi Xian. "Dream on." Yi Xian was speechless. At this moment, a group of human soldiers suddenly appeared on the city walls. These soldiers were all holding longbows, and they were already aiming at Yi Xian and the others. The man in the lead held a spear in his hand. He pointed his bow at Yi Xian, with an indifferent look on his face. "Get out of here. Don't drag us down with you." Yi Xian thought for a moment and said, "I don't quite understand. Humans are in such a miserable state. Why can't they unite?" The man spoke fiercely. "Unite? Do you know that killing the devil dwellers is equivalent to infuriating all the devils in the devil dimension? Not only will they not let all of you off, they might even vent their anger on the entire mortal dimension. Yi Xian was about to speak when a voice resounded from the city walls. Li Feng, we can't let them leave. It was a human woman who was around the age of 20, and she was very beautiful. She gazed coldly at Yi Xian and the others. They've infuriated all the devils in the devil dimension. Not only will they not let them off, they won't let us off as well. There's only one way to stop them from venting their anger on us, and that's to capture them and hand them over to the devils in the devil dimension. The man called Li Feng's eyes narrowed when he heard this, and then he waved his right hand. It didn't take long for a few dozen human experts to appear behind Yi Xian and the others. Obviously, they weren't allowing Yi Xian and the others to leave. Meanwhile, Lin Yan, who stood by Yi Xian's side, spoke angrily. We're all humans. Even if all of you don't want to help, how can you hit us when we're down? Li Feng's face was expressionless. Why are all of you killing the devils? Lin Yan spoke angrily. The devils want to kill us. Li Feng spoke angrily. What does it have to do with us? Lin Yan was furious to the point of almost going berserk. Mu Xiaodao suddenly looked at Yi Xian. I suddenly feel that even though you're a bit cheap, you're still a man. But at least you're a man. As she spoke, she raised her head to look at Li Feng, who stood on the city walls. I don't think there's anything wrong with all of you not helping us. After all, this is your right. Moreover, all of you don't owe us anything. But don't you feel that what you said is very cold-blooded? Just like what this bitchy said. The human race is already in such a miserable state. Even if you don't help us, you shouldn't go so far as to hit us when we're down, right? Yi Xian glanced at Mu Xiaodao and felt slightly surprised in his heart. In his impression, this woman was rarely reasonable. This woman would only be reasonable if she couldn't win. The woman on the city walls spoke coldly. Cold-blooded? Hitting us when we're down. Then do you know that all the devils in the devil dimension will hate us when you come to our mortal dimension? Have all of you thought about our situation? Yi Xian thought for a moment and said, Let's go. Mu Xiaodao glanced at Yi Xian and didn't say anything. They were about to leave. At this moment, the woman suddenly spoke angrily. You can't leave. As soon as she finished speaking, the experts in front of Yi Xian and the others were about to attack. Yi Xian and the others stopped. Yi Xian turned to look at the woman, and the woman stared fixedly at him. If all of you leave, the devils will definitely not let this matter rest. They'll definitely vent their anger on us, so all of you can't leave. Yi Xian smiled. Then what do you intend to do? The woman gazed at Yi Xian for a short moment. The devils will only be appeased if all of you die. So all of you must die. As she spoke, she waved her right hand and was about to give the order to kill Yi Xian and the others. Right at this moment, the sky in the distance suddenly split apart, and an extremely terrifying aura suddenly assaulted them from the sky. The expressions of the human experts on the city walls instantly changed when they witnessed this scene. The woman looked up at the sky with a pale face. We're finished. The devils are here. We're finished. As she spoke, she seemed to have thought of something, and she suddenly pointed angrily at Yi Xian and the others. It's all because of all of you. All of you lowly humans. The devils want to kill all of you. So why did all of you resist? Why don't all of you just die? Fuck. Yi Xian was dumbstruck when he heard this. Needless to say, this woman's words had truly toppled his worldview. He knew that human nature was ugly, but he hadn't expected it to be ugly to this extent. Yi Xian turned to look at Mu Xiaodao. Looking at this woman, I suddenly feel that you're not bad. To be honest, although Mu Xiaodao was an opponent, and a life-and-death opponent at that, he still respected Mu Xiaodao quite a bit. At least this woman wasn't so ugly. Mu Xiaodao's expression was calm. She opened her palm, and a flying dagger suddenly appeared. At this moment, Yi Xian had already charged forward. He really couldn't hold it in any longer. He wanted to smash this woman's dog head. However, just as he approached the city walls, a powerful force suddenly surged out from above the city walls. Bang! Yi Xian was directly jolted back to his original spot. City barrier formation. Yi Xian glanced at the city walls, and a huge screen of light had suddenly appeared on the city walls. It was somewhat familiar. After all, He had also cultivated the Tao scripture, and this formation had the aura of the Tao scripture. Obviously, this formation was set up by a Tao ancestor. At this moment, the sky in the distance suddenly split open, and a middle-aged man walked out. The one who walked out was the young realm lord of the devil world, and behind him was a densely packed group of devil experts. Among them, there were more than 20 heavenly vigor realm experts, and more than 100 divine vigor realm experts. As for the rest, there were hundreds of consolidation realm experts. This formation was a bit strong. Vast Ming looked down at Yi Xian and the rest, and finally, his gaze landed on Mu Xiaodao. You're from the Cosmos God Court? Mu Xiaodao nodded. Yes. Vast Ming laughed lightly. Did the Cosmos God Court give you the guts? Mu Xiaodao looked at Vast Ming, but didn't speak. At this moment, the woman on the city wall suddenly bowed to Vast Ming. I'm Han Meng, greeting the respected young realm lord of the devil world. Vast Ming looked at Han Meng, and Han Meng hurriedly said, Young realm lord, these humans have nothing to do with us. The moment they arrived, we surrounded them, and prepared to capture them, and send them to the devil world. Vast Ming laughed. You are a human, and they are also humans. Han Meng bowed again. Although they are humans, we have nothing to do with them. These humans killed the devils of the devil world, and their actions are heinous. We are willing to assist the young realm lord in capturing them. Yi Xian looked at Han Meng, and gave her a thumbs up. You really know how to lick people. Han Meng glanced at Yi Xian, and said sarcastically, You're about to die, and you still want to talk. What a joke. Yi Xian was about to speak, but at this moment, Vast Ming suddenly laughed. Human Kiki. As he spoke, he looked at Mu Xiaodao. Since your confidence is from the Cosmos God Court, how about this? I'll give you a chance. You can call for help now. Call for help. Yi Xian walked to Mu Xiaodao's side, and pulled on Mu Xiaodao's sleeves. Call for help. Just like how you beat me, beat him up. Mu Xiaodao looked at Vast Ming. Are you sure? Vast Ming nodded and smiled. I'm sure. Mu Xiaodao opened his palm, and a token suddenly rushed into the sky. In the next instant, that token directly disappeared into the depths of space. Yi Xian blinked. Who did you call? Mu Xiaodao said indifferently. The Cosmos Keeper of Order of this world. Yi Xian nodded. Those Cosmos Keepers of Order weren't weak. Calling them over, along with him and Mu Xiaodao, they should be able to deal with these devils. Not long later, a dozen figures suddenly appeared in the sky. Very soon, those dozen figures appeared in front of Mu Xiaodao, and the leader was a man. After the man rushed to the scene, he scanned the surroundings. When he saw Firmament Ming, his expression changed drastically. In the next moment, he ran in front of Firmament Ming and bowed respectfully. I am Cosmos God Court's Keeper of Order, Qi Shuai. Greetings, young world lord. The rest of the Keepers of Order also saluted respectfully. Seeing this, Yi Xian was dumbfounded. Mu Xiaodao's expression turned even uglier. Yi Xian tugged at Mu Xiaodao's sleeve again. Xiaodao, I'm a little embarrassed now. What about you? Chapter 1586. Needless to say, Yi Xian was a bit stunned. He didn't expect these enforcers to be so respectful to the demon realm young realm lord. This wasn't normal. Mu Xiaodao's expression was also gloomy. On the other side, the young realm lord Ming Chong suddenly laughed. After laughing for a while, he pointed at Mu Xiaodao. Qi Shuai, she called you here. Hearing this, Qi Shuai looked at Mu Xiaodao. When he saw Mu Xiaodao, he frowned. Who are you? Yi Xian blinked. You don't know her? Qi Shuai was expressionless. Nope. Yi Xian gave a thumbs up. Awesome. You don't even know the protector of the laws of the universe. The protector of the laws of the universe. Hearing this, Qi Shuai's expression changed. She looked at Mu Xiaodao and said with a trembling voice, You are the protector of the laws of the universe. Mu Xiaodao looked at Qi Shuai. Are there only a few of you? Qi Shuai shook her head. The boss isn't here. At this moment, Ming Chong suddenly laughed. The protector of the laws of the universe? Interesting. Mu Xiaodao looked at Ming Chong. Is it interesting? Ming Chong laughed. Can we start fighting now? Hearing this, Qi Shuai's expression changed. He hurriedly said, "This is a misunderstanding. A big misunderstanding." Saying this, he hurriedly walked in front of Mu Xiaodao and said, "Hurry up and apologize to the young realm lord." Hearing this, Yi Xian shook his head. "Damn it! When you guys beat me, none of you were afraid of death, as if your lives were worthless. Why are you guys like this when you beat others? This is infuriating." He didn't forget that in the 9th dimension, those cosmic enforcers really dared to fight with their lives on the line. Even in death, none of them were afraid. Mu Xiaodao looked at Qi Shuai. "Me apologize?" Qi Shuai hurriedly nodded and said anxiously, "Hurry up and apologize. Otherwise, even our universe law enforcement hall will be implicated. You." Qi Shuai's voice suddenly stopped because a flying knife was at his throat. Qi Shuai's eyes widened. "You?" Mu Xiaodao shook her head. "Damn it. How did you guys end up like this?" With that, she raised her hand and slapped him. Pa! Qi Shuai was sent flying. As he flew, his physical body shattered, leaving only his soul behind. Seeing this scene, the enforcers were stunned. Qi Shuai was also dumbfounded. Mu Xiaodao looked at Firmament Ming and the rest, but she didn't say anything. Seeing this, Yi Xian's expression immediately changed. "Miss Mu, you're not planning to run away, are you?" Damn it. He had almost forgotten that this woman liked to betray her teammates. As long as she couldn't beat him, she would definitely flee. If this woman ran away now, he would definitely not be able to defeat so many people. Mu Xiaodao glanced at Yi Xian. "Am I that kind of person?" The corner of Yi Xian's mouth twitched. "Damn it, aren't you that kind of person?" At this moment, Firmament Ming suddenly laughed and said, "Protector of the laws of the universe, are you still human? If you call, I can wait for you." Mu Xiaodao gazed at Firmament. "I'll call you Mother****. As soon as she finished speaking, she opened her palm, and a flying knife suddenly flew out. Hiss! A ray of saber light flashed through the battlefield. In the distance, Firmament Ming's expression instantly changed, and he suddenly smashed his fist forward. Bang! Firmament retreated explosively. As soon as he stopped, Firmament Ming's entire right arm fell off his shoulder. Firmament Ming was stunned, and then he said fiercely, "Kill her." As soon as he finished speaking, the experts by his side charged at Mu Xiaodao. At this moment, Mu Xiaodao opened her palm, and a flying knife appeared in her hand. In the next moment, she slowly closed her eyes, and an illusory flying knife suddenly appeared above her head. At the same time, her soul left its sheath and grabbed the flying knife. Yi Xian's eyelids twitched when he saw this. Damn it! I was hit by this move all those years ago. Mu Xiaodao immediately went all out. After Mu Xiaodao's soul grabbed the flying knife, she suddenly slashed forward. God Slayer! As soon as her voice resounded, a flying knife suddenly tore through the air. Hiss! The heavens and the earth were torn apart. The dozen or so demon cultivator powerhouses in the lead were destroyed on the spot, and the remaining demon cultivator powerhouses were directly forced back by the saber force. Meanwhile, another flying knife appeared in Mu Xiaodao's hand, and it flew forward in the next moment. Hiss! A head flew into the air in the distance. Moreover, another flying knife appeared in Mu Xiaodao's hand. Just like that, head after head flew into the air incessantly, and it was an extremely bloody scene. It was a slaughter. Even though those experts were at the heavenly fate realm, Mu Xiaodao was at the mortal realm, so they weren't able to resist Mu Xiaodao's flying knives at all. However, there were many of them, and it didn't take long for over a dozen of them to arrive in front of Mu Xiaodao. Meanwhile, Yi Xian appeared in front of Mu Xiaodao, and then he suddenly smashed his fist forward. Bang! He punched out, and the demon at the very front was blasted away. But at this moment, another demon had already arrived in front of him. Yi Xian was just about to attack when a flying dagger suddenly stabbed into the demon's head. Hiss! That devil was instantly sliced into pieces. Mu Xiaodao glanced at Yi Xian. Is your father really your father? He actually made you so weak. Yi Xian instantly felt sorrow from the bottom of his heart. Perhaps I was picked up. Meanwhile, Mu Xiaodao and Yi Xian were about to attack again, but they suddenly turned around. As soon as they did, two rays of white light blasted towards them. Yi Xian's expression changed, and he swiftly swept his arms horizontally. Mu Xiaodao swiftly slashed down as well. Bang! An expanse of white light exploded. And then both of them were blasted over 1 kilometer away. Both of them were stunned when they stopped moving, because it wasn't the devil that attacked them, but the humans on the city walls. It was the humans who attacked them with formations. Not only that, a group of human experts had unknowingly surrounded the little girl and Lin Yan, and 2 of them had even placed their daggers on their throats. Han Meng looked coldly at Yi Xian and Lin Yan. Young world lord, my mortal world is willing to lend you a hand to kill these 2 humans. As she spoke, many strange runes suddenly appeared on the city walls, and these runes were flowing with strange energy. Formations. Down there, Yi Xian looked at Han Meng. You silly woman, are you retarded? I'm King convinced. Can't you see how ferocious we are? Han Meng said angrily, you 2 idiots. Don't you know that he is the young world lord of the devil world? If you hurt him, all of us humans will be buried with you. Yi Xian said angrily, fuck you. Is the young world lord that awesome? Don't you know that I am the founder of the Cosmos God Court, and the laws of the universe were created by me, you? At this point he suddenly stopped. Fuck. I actually forgot that Mu Xiaodao was here. That's embarrassing. Mu Xiaodao looked at Yi Xian. Speak. Continue speaking. Yi Xian was about to speak when Han Meng suddenly ridiculed. Cosmos God Court? What kind of trash is that? How can it be compared to the devil world? Yi Xian. Mu Xiaodao looked at Han Meng, and in the next moment, the flying knife in her hand suddenly vanished. In the distance, Han Meng's face changed drastically, and she hurriedly said, formations. As soon as she finished speaking, a huge barrier of light rose from the city walls. Bang! Mu Xiaodao's flying knife was blocked by the barrier of light, but the barrier of light split apart, and at this moment, another flying knife slashed down. Bang! The barrier of light shattered, and before Han Meng could react, Mu Xiaodao appeared in front of her, grabbed her hair, and smashed her against the city walls. Bang! The city wall split apart, and blood splattered from Han Meng's face, and she was disfigured. She didn't die. Mu Xiaodao stepped on Han Meng's chest, and she looked down at Han Meng and laughed. I see that your chest isn't big. Why are you so brainless? Han Meng looked at Mu Xiaodao resentfully. If you dare to hurt me, my grandfather will not let you off. Mu Xiaodao directly slapped her. Pa! Han Meng's face was directly deformed from the slap. Ah! You damned slut! You dare to humiliate me! Han Meng suddenly roared hysterically. Mu Xiaodao shook her head. You are so arrogant to humans, but you bow and scrape like a dog to the devil world. Isn't it good to be a human? Why must you be someone else's dog? Han Meng stared resentfully at Mu Xiaodao, and didn't speak. Mu Xiaodao slapped her again. Pa! Han Meng's teeth were directly smashed into pieces. Mu Xiaodao blinked. What are you looking at? Get up and hit me. As she spoke, she slapped her again. Pa! Han Meng's entire face was distorted beyond recognition. Mu Xiaodao giggled, and she moved her face in front of Han Meng. Get up and hit me. I really want to get hit. Pooh. Han Meng was so angry that she vomited a mouthful of blood. Below, Yi Xian shook his head. This Mu Xiaodao is also despicable. At this time, Mu Xiaodao suddenly lifted Han Meng up, and said with a smile. Aya, you can't hit me. You can't hit me. Are you angry? Han Meng stared at Mu Xiaodao, and said resentfully. The devil world will not let you off. They will not let you off. Below, Yi Xian shook his head. You said that this woman has no backbone. But when facing Mu Xiaodao, she was quite unyielding, and did not even beg for mercy. But you said that she has backbone. But when facing the devil world, she is like a dog. Indeed. No matter where, some people are like this. When facing their own people, they are incomparably unyielding and ruthless. But when facing outsiders, they are really like a dog, as if the outsiders are their own father, afraid that they will not be able to serve them well. Many people really have a servile nature. P.S. Thank you, Little Magic Master, Flying Bull, and countless readers' gifts. I really thank everyone. This is the first time in a year that the monthly votes have entered the top 10. Thank you to those readers who silently read and silently voted. Seeing you all vote, I am very touched. If not for the fact that I have a few 100 million project to discuss, I can't wait to write 10 chapters. Chapter 1587. On the city wall, Mu Xiaodao was silent. She suddenly felt sorrowful. She had never thought that a person could be so servile to such an extent. Mu Xiaodao did not kill Han Meng. She threw her on the city wall and walked down the city wall. Killing such a person would only dirty her knife. Below the city wall, the experts surrounding the little girl and Lin Yan suddenly had their throats pierced by a flying knife. All of them fell to the ground. Mu Xiaodao walked to Yi Xian's side. She looked afar. At this moment, Vast Ming and the rest were on high alert. Fear. The power that Mu Xiaodao displayed was too terrifying. Mu Xiaodao suddenly said, I want to return to the Cosmos God Court. Yi Xian turned to look at Mu Xiaodao. Return? Can you bring me back? Mu Xiaodao looked at Yi Xian. Are you sure? Yi Xian hurriedly nodded his head. Mu Xiaodao said indifferently, Sure. Follow me back, and we will reach the headquarters of the Cosmos God Court. Yi Xian blinked his eyes. What do you mean? Mu Xiaodao smiled. What do you think? Yi Xian's face was filled with black lines. Damn it. If he reached the headquarters of the Cosmos God Court, would he still be able to leave? Mu Xiaodao looked at the little girl and Lin Yan. The two of them can follow me. Yi Xian looked at Lin Yan and the little girl. He waved his hand, and the two of them walked in front of him and Mu Xiaodao. Yi Xian smiled. The two of you follow Miss Mu. Lin Yan nodded. All right. The little girl looked at Yi Xian. Brother, what about you? Yi Xian smiled. I will not return for now. The little girl hesitated for a while before saying, Are you really the founder of the Cosmos God Court? Also, were you the one who created the laws of the universe? Yi Xian. Mu Xiaodao looked at Yi Xian and gave him a thumbs up. You can brag. Yi Xian smiled, and was about to speak when the little girl looked at Yi Xian. I believe you. Yi Xian blushed with shame. Little sister, I don't even believe myself. Looks like I can't brag to kids in the future. Mu Xiaodao suddenly said, I'm leaving now. I want to return to the Cosmos God Court to explain the situation here. After which, I will ask the Cosmos God Court to send people to take over this place. As she spoke, she took out a strange stone and crushed it. As soon as she crushed it, a huge teleportation array appeared in front of her. Yi Xian's expression changed. Miss Mu, aren't you going to get rid of these people first? Mu Xiaodao blinked. Do I know you that well? Yi Xian was speechless. At this moment, the teleportation array was suddenly activated. Just as Yi Xian was about to speak, Mu Xiaodao added, Also, I want to tell the experts of the Cosmos God Court that you are here. You are on the wanted list. After killing you, they will be rewarded handsomely. Yi Xian's face was filled with black lines. Is there a need to be so ruthless? Mu Xiaodao blinked. There's something even more ruthless. As she spoke, she suddenly shouted, Guardian Yi, you stay here and delay them. I will go back and call for reinforcements. When I bring people back, we will slaughter the demon world and leave no one alive. You must hold on. Guardian Yi. As she spoke, Mu Xiaodao smiled mischievously, after which, she disappeared with Lin Yan and the little girl. Yi Xian was dumbfounded. His mind was in a mess. It's over. This was the first thought that appeared in his mind. In the surroundings, all of the demons' gazes fell on Yi Xian. Their eyes were filled with murderous intent. They had just heard that the woman was going back to call for reinforcements, after which, she would slaughter all the demons in the demon world. Moreover, they found out from that woman that this human before them was a guardian of the laws of the Cosmos Court. It wasn't just the demons that were looking at Yi Xian. The humans on the city walls were looking at Yi Xian as well, especially Han Meng, who was still alive. Her gaze was filled with resentment, as if Yi Xian had humiliated her. Yi Xian hesitated for a moment before he said, Would all of you believe me if I said that I'm not from the Cosmos Court? In the sky, Firmament stared fixedly at Yi Xian. Do you think we would believe you? Yi Xian was speechless. He'd been tricked by Mu Xiaodao this time. Right at this moment, Firmament suddenly spoke fiercely. Kill him. As soon as he finished speaking, the experts behind him charged directly at Yi Xian. Yi Xian didn't run, because he couldn't run at all. If his cultivation hadn't been sealed, then he could still flee by flying on his sword. But now he only had his physical strength. How could he flee? He could only fight. Yi Xian closed his eyes slowly, while he clenched his fists tightly. Meanwhile, a Heavenly Way realm expert had charged in front of him. Yi Xian suddenly opened his eyes and smashed his fist forward. Bang! The space in front of Yi Xian trembled violently, while he retreated explosively to the bottom of the city wall. He'd just stopped when another expert charged in front of him, and this expert smashed his fist towards his head. A wisp of a savage smile arose on the corners of Yi Xian's mouth, and he suddenly smashed his fist forward. Bang! The space in front of them exploded apart, while Yi Xian was blasted flying. In the end, he smashed heavily against the city wall, causing the entire city wall to tremble violently. Fortunately, there was a formation, otherwise the city wall would have probably collapsed on the spot. Yi Xian had just descended to the ground when another 10+ people charged in front of him. Yi Xian roared furiously as he charged forward and smashed his fist forward. He directly went head-on against them. However, the current him could not withstand it at all. After all, his current fleshy body was merely at the consolidation realm, while these experts in front of him were mostly at the Heavenway realm. It was also fortunate that Mu Xiaodao had killed some Heavenway realm experts previously. Otherwise, he wouldn't have any chance at all. Even so, he still had to face 7 Heavenway realm experts right now. Most importantly, the other party chose to gang up on him. If it was a one-on-one battle, he wouldn't be afraid even if he faced a Heavenway realm expert. But the problem was that the other party was ganging up on him. Very soon, Yi Xian was beaten up violently. However, relying on his powerful fleshy body, those people were unable to kill him for a while. Of course, this was also because he had been dodging fatal blows the entire time. Bang! At this time, Yi Xian was suddenly blasted flying. He had just stopped when he suddenly turned around and smashed a fist out. Rumble! Where the fist landed, the space directly collapsed. But before he could retract his fist, his abdomen was blasted by a fist once more. Bang! Yi Xian flew out once more. This time he flew several thousand feet away. Finally, he smashed heavily onto the ground, causing the entire ground to tremble violently, then split open. Those Fiendman experts did not give him the chance, but charged over once more. Yi Xian leaped up fiercely, but he had just leaped up when a long spear suddenly tore through the air, stabbing straight at his glabella. Yi Xian leaned to the side, directly dodging this fatal spear. However, before he could make a move, a powerhouse directly blasted a punch onto his back. Bang! Yi Xian's entire person directly flew out. But he had yet to land when another powerhouse rushed in front of him. In midair, Yi Xian's arms suddenly crossed horizontally defending. Bang! Yi Xian was directly blasted by a powerful force, his entire person plummeting from the sky, finally smashing heavily onto the ground. Bang! Yi Xian had just landed. The place he landed directly became a giant pit, and from all directions, numerous powerful forces blasted towards him ceaselessly. On the ground, Yi Xian flashed about, dodging those attacks. At this moment, Firmament Ming suddenly vanished on the spot. In the distance, Yi Xian's pupils suddenly constricted. He suddenly blasted out a punch, and this punch directly blasted onto a fist. Bang! The space in front of Yi Xian suddenly turned pitch black, and his entire person was instantly blasted out. This time, he flew directly for thousands of feet. After landing on the ground, Yi Xian's physical body directly cracked, and fresh blood flowed out. In the surroundings, those fiend men were about to make a move, but Firmament Ming suddenly stopped them. He looked at Yi Xian, who was lying on the ground in the distance, and mocked. Just this. In the distance, Yi Xian's hands pressed against the ground, and fresh blood flowed ceaselessly from his mouth. Power! Yi Xian stared fixedly at the ground. His cultivation was sealed. He really wanted to use his sword. As long as he used his sword, he could kill everyone here. However, his cultivation was sealed. Thinking of this, Yi Xian suddenly frowned. If his cultivation was sealed, he couldn't use his sword? He was an ordinary sword. What was ordinary? Ordinary was real. Without a sword, was he not a swordsman? A swordsman was a swordsman. Only those with a sword could be called a swordsman. Did a swordsman cultivate the sword, or the heart? Naturally, it was to cultivate the heart. The heart was there. The sword was there. Thinking of this, bang. Suddenly, a powerful sword intent swept out from Yi Xian's body. With the appearance of this sword intent, Yi Xian's entire body trembled. His cultivation was also recovering at an extremely fast speed. And in his hand, a sword quietly condensed. Heart sword. A swordsman cultivated the heart. If there was a sword in the heart, then everything was a sword. Yi Xian slowly closed his eyes. He tightly grasped the sword in his hand. The sword in his hand didn't exist, because this was a heart sword formed from his heart. Sword. He thought of what Big Brother Swordsman had said to him. Use your heart to control the sword. Wherever your heart thinks, your sword will be there. Thinking of this, Yi Xian suddenly slashed out with his sword. Chi. In the distance, the Heavenway Realm expert's head flew off. The demonic people didn't come back to their senses. By the time the devils came back to their senses, another Heavenway Realm expert's head had flown off. Seeing this, the expressions of the Heavenway Realm experts instantly changed. One of the demonic people looked at Yi Xian in shock and said with a trembling voice, You are above the mortal sword. Above the mortal sword. In the distance, Yi Xian slowly closed his eyes. Above the mortal sword? That's right. He was now above the mortal sword. He didn't know what was above the mortal sword, but he knew that he had already surpassed the mortal sword. Thinking of this, Yi Xian could not help but burst into laughter. Now these people were like ants in front of him. Yi Xian was about to attack again, when a sword howl suddenly resounded from within him. The sword chi that the green-robed man had left in his body. Yi Xian was stunned at first, and then his expression changed drastically. In the blink of an eye, the heart sword in his hand vanished, and his cultivation was sealed once more. Yi Xian was stunned, and then he wanted to charge through the seal once more. However, it was utterly useless. Even he, who had transcended ordinary swords, could not break the seal of that wisp of sword chi. Yi Xian suddenly felt sorrow in his heart. He knelt on the ground, pounded the ground with both hands, and cried loudly, Heavens! O Mother Earth! How could there be a father who would screw his son over like this? You're playing me to death. Holy shit. Ah. You're tuning in to the Li Mei's Sword of Destiny YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support. And don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.